Okay, all right, I'm about going to get started now. A few things to get finished today. Welcome, everybody. Appreciate that taking time out to do that for your facilitator today. All right, I'm Habab Jadefre Hatat. My name is Ba'h B'ah Yaanuwn. I'm a student teacher of the Master Teacher Dr. Malachi Z, York, and we are bringing to you Wu-Sabat Affirmation classes in the UK. Freaks and the Perfect Creature, Part 5. From All Eyes on Egypt, Midlands and the North. So this is a class series that's been ongoing for a while. So we will take you through not so much an introduction to what we've done before, but touch upon it and then get into what we need to talk about today. So we haven't been running the polls to check the sound because we've had a few technical issues with that, so I'm leaving that alone for now. So if there are any issues with the sound, then please feedback into the chat area. And if you cannot see the screen, you may need to swipe left or right on your device in order to basically be able to check you should be seeing on the screen. So you should see a presentation on the screen if you've got a particular device. Now get some feedback to speak up. Some issue with the sound. Just bear with me 1 second. One, two, 1, 2. Hopefully that's a bit better. Excuse me. Okay, so, however, what we're going to do is start the class with a form of positive thinking in the form of Partak Yod, the affirmation. So I'm going to say that in our Sabaic language. We are Sabians, United Sabians worldwide, and our language from our culture is Bisbatia or Sabaic. So we're going to say that in our language first, then translate that for full and proper understanding into English. So welcome those joining us, as I say, on Zoom or on Facebook Live.
Before you start, Ba'h B'ah Yaanuwn, if you could just slightly reduce your level, it's a little distorted, more than what it was. But if you could just bring that down just a touch, I think that would help with the clarity of what you're saying there.
Okay, is that any better? What's it still saying?
Yes, it does sound better to me now. If you just, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Harat M. Habab. So here we go. Abdul Kaleh Namazurat Wufakur Ame Kasam Un Empa Paut Anuki Jawef Pa Ashuk Empa Paut Wu Kaleh Ashuk Kawun Jawef Neya Anuki Kasam Un Empa Paut Wu Pa Paut Kasam Un Em Neya Anuki Wahu Ame Pa Paut Wu Pa Paut Kawun Wahu Ame Neya Nakuk Kadur Najo Ame Kasam Un Empa Paut Wu Habub Ame Mushakhas Nakuk Kadur Kawan Kaleh Pafef Nakuk Tayur Jawef Pa Paut Ame Wase Ame Tayarni Kawun Nakei Bakoy Jawef Pa Paut Anuki Abed Bin Afashni Pa Paut Kawun Anuki Pa Paut Kadur Nakuk Kadur Pa Paut Amul Nakuk Amul. So we started by saying, begin all prayers and thinking as a part of the all expanding. And then said, I am in the divine love of the all expanding, and all divine love is in me. I am a part of the all expanding, and the all expanding is a part of me. I am one as the all expanding, and the all expanding is one as me. I can succeed as a part of the all expanding and fail as an individual person. I can be all that I want in the all expanding, as long as my want is to stay in the all expanding. I am never by myself. The all expanding is I am. The all expanding I can. The all expanding does, I do. So that was Partak Yud, as I say, an expression of positive thinking from our culture, allowing us to connect with our ancestors, the Pa Nefaru and our Muslafu, which are two terms which we explained in the last class in some detail. And all expanding or Pa'ut is dealing with existence, which we are all a part of. Now, if you join us on the Zoom platform for the first time, the Facebook experience is slightly different. So if you do want the full interactive experience, feel free to join us on Zoom. The link is in the chat, but if you're happy to stay on Facebook, no problem either way. So you're on your device, you may have, you should have three principal kind of icons there: chat, raise hand, and Q&A. And to the left, you've got audio settings. So if you do need to adjust your sound at your end, then do that by these options, or if you're sounding a little bit low, you've got the ability to do so. Maybe turn your volume up slightly if you've got that option. Now, how we use a chat generally is if you've got messages which are generally not questions, so any kind of feedback, then select everyone in the chat. I need to update this, I keep saying it all the time. So select everyone in the chat, that way everybody can see what you're saying, and then just give feedback. It can be anything: positive, negative, improvement, constructive criticism, whatever the case may be. So put that in the chat area if it's not a question that you're seeking an answer to today. Now, if you do have a question, then you've got two options. So first one is coming through live and asking your question directly to myself as your student teacher for today. So what you need to do is raise your hand, and in the appropriate time, your facilitator, Harat M. Habab, for today will come to you and call out your name as it appears and how you've registered, and then basically give you the permission to unmute yourself. So you'll see this message on the screen: you need to respond, unmute yourself, and then you're able to speak and ask your question. You will then have the ability to mute yourself and unmute yourself at will. So if you can just stay muted once you've asked your question, as to not disturb the rest of the class today with any background noise. If you've dialed in, then those options are slightly different. So *9 to raise your hand and *6 to mute and unmute yourself when you are called upon to do so. If you don't want to come through live and speak, then you can ask written questions at any point. So put those questions in there. And then what will happen is Harat M. Habab, as your facilitator today, will ask those questions to me on your behalf. Obviously, those questions have been answered satisfactorily, or you've got some kind of follow-up, then feel free to express that in the Q&A again, and then those will get picked up at the appropriate time. So that's the Zoom platform today. If you're on Facebook, you're about 20 seconds delay between us being live. So if you've got any questions, we're not monitoring the chat during the class. So if you do have any questions, either somebody who's in Zoom can ask it on your behalf if they're on Facebook Live, or we'll pick those up after today's session. Maybe it's glad for some to know there's no recap quizzes today in today's session. We do have them sometimes, so just to test learning, but we're giving you a bit of a break on this one. Just got a lot of information to get through today, so no recap quizzes, but be prepared, they do happen, and it's just to test your knowledge. This is a class, so ask questions, do not sit there in ignorance. And we don't understand something, let's say we do our best to clarify that for you today, and so don't feel embarrassed about any questions, simple, whatever it is. You don't have to have a background understanding of everything. So as I say, it's more for your understanding, and this is so you retain the information. It's not a sound nice doctrine. It's not for us to be here sounding heavy and deep, etc., if you don't understand what we're saying and what we're trying to express to you in these various different sessions that we're having. Now, so we'll get into a slight intro. We'll get into an introduction briefly, and then, as I say, walk through part 5. And so we're going to conclude this series of classes of Freak and the Perfect Creature in part 6. So there's a couple of parter acts we want to get through today. And we went through helping people to connect with their ancestors, understanding what the facts are around that, sort of confirmation. And now we're going to go into some of the, how can it best be described, some of the things that we have to watch for and be cognizant of, both being obviously etheric and physical beings, in 360 of both, 360 physical, 360 spiritual or etheric, one may describe it as. And so that comes with some challenges in the environment that we have to be cognizant of to protect ourselves from undue or unnecessary influence. Now, the importance of that, and the importance of some of the things that we touched upon last week when we were speaking to you about ancestral connection, is us acknowledging how nature's system is established within the environment. Understood? And that starts with the female first. So when we're talking about the master teacher, we always have to acknowledge Mary Abba Akran York and Fatima Maryam as his mother, because that other, without that, his physical structure would not be here. And if it wasn't necessary to do it that way, then Panatharu, as our higher ancestors, overseers, would not have used that method in order to establish, as I say, a teacher, an example for us in this day and time, to bring us out of ignorance back into the right knowledge of who we are today. So the great Mary Abba Akran York, we acknowledge her sacred feminine status as a very important sacred feminine in this day and time, because obviously without her, the physical structure, which is Dr. Malachi Z York, the mind, etc., would not be here with us today to provide the opportunity for our people to take themselves out of the muck and mire that we find ourselves in. So this is her in our clan mother attire. Excuse me. She transitioned, as I say, now has become one of our Salafu, and then that mantle has been carried or passed on to her daughter, Kimantat Mukpatauret Atumraye, as the current clan mother for the tribe of Yamasee Native Americans, also known as Misbatia or Sabaeans or Sabians in this day and time. Understood, who are the followers of Wu-Sabat, spiritual science of the Nagaru in this day and time, or Negroids in this day and time. Excuse me. So his father, Al-Hadi Abdur Rahman Al-Mahdi, a sacred masculine, born 1922 in Sudan. Excuse me. Which we know is part of the all part of what is being called Egypt today, or Ptah, Maye, Rayeu, Tamaray, and Ta, Ptah, earth, Maye, water, and Raye, sun, 3 principles needed for life. Excuse me. And he comes from a very important, as I say, family, royal family out of Sudan. As we see there, he is the grandson of Sayyid Muhammad Ahmad Al-Mahdi of the Sudan. As I say, Al-Hadi Abdul Rahman Al-Mahdi, a great individual, unfortunately was assassinated for his great works in 1970. If you want to learn more about the master teacher's, or his father's side of the family, then check out this particular actual fact, and Pahadayan, the guidance. Very important, because all of it ties back in to us as the ancient Egyptians, or Kadem Mukmatu, ancient Egyptians. It all ties back in. And so even with the so-called monotheistic religious degrees, All roads lead back to Africa, or Fafreye Ka'au, you understand? All roads lead back to us as Africans. And the land, so-called motherland, as they call it, you understand? Mother and fatherland, which is Africa today, you understand? But the culture that reflects that is us as ancient Egyptians, particularly pre-dynastic ancient Egypt as Napata and Moro, or some say Moroe. Now, what is that? Why is that relevant and important? Well, it is Parnatharu's way of birthing a teacher amongst us to bring us back into the knowledge of who we are as opposed to a what. And in our culture, our history, or our story, I should say, gets renewed by way of teachers being born amongst us to come and, as I say, restore back that which was lost, particularly in our case. But all races on the planet, and as we touched upon today, you understand this word race, we will touch upon that today, give it a more detailed explanation. All races on the planet are sent teachers. So not just us as Nagai, we're not saying we're some exclusive type of people in that regard. All races receive their own, let me make that clear, own, as you can hear in the background, Om chant. Yeah, all races receive their own teachers. I mean, I'm talking about Oprah Winfrey's channel. You understand? All receive their own teachers tailored for them, understood as Wu-Sabat, or the science of Wu-Sabat is tailored for us, dealing with factual information in this day and time. So new spirituality is factual information. Yeah, facts, because facts, or Wu-Sabat, is the unifying force to unify the minds, so the physical unity amongst us as a people will follow. And that is done in many different, or many cultures reflect or identify that approach. The Hindus, as we say in this class, they call or refer to avatars. Yeah? In the Islamic degree, it was used, the term was used, Ila Mutajasid, understood, a divine being in the physical personage, understood. Now in Kadem Mukmat, or ancient Egypt, they refer to that being as Tahuti. Yeah, some of you may be familiar with that term. Yeah, but the proper title is Amun Nabab Raye Ahaktar. Understood? And that is basically a physical being or vessel that allows our ancestors use to convey information that we need, or outformation to us, coming to us in the form of information that we need to prepare us for our ascension pathway in this day and time, or in a simple way, helping us, or you as individuals, to come together collectively and develop your full potential, understood? Yes, as being souls incarnate into this physical life journey, understood? Remember, this is the temporary journey, because the light of life is cut on. And as you know, with light is temporary. You know, fire burns out at a certain point. So the life is a burning process. And when we stop breathing, to facilitate that breathing process, what is known as life ends. Yes, but we didn't start off obviously as that. We started off as soul energy incarnate, basically. So when the light of life is cut off, that is when true existence or true living really starts for us in the darkness. We came from the darkness. We were born, as they say, yet to become detectable in space and time. Space as matter, understood. And when the light of life is cut off, if we've done the things necessary for the next level of existence, then that's not about being particularly good or bad. It's not about that, but it's about preparing or doing things necessary to prepare for that next level of growth. Then obviously, then we will be truly living. And in order to prepare us for that particular journey, our ancestors, blessed in a blessed way, send us beings and teachers along the way to prepare us for that which they once were themselves. Yeah, and so that growth or ascension pathway. And so we at the time in 1970, we were stuck within the monotheistic religion. We wanted to believe, we wanted to worship. We did not want to stand up and acknowledge stand up on our own 2 feet, some say, and acknowledge the responsibilities that were placed upon us by natural nature to be who we are and what that came with, in terms of protecting the environment. We wanted to throw out our energy into a spook god. We was not ready for the reality of who we were. So in order to, and some of that was basically based on the fact not only that our genes had been tampered with forcibly over the last 6,000 years, but also a deliberate mental spell was placed upon our people, as I say, to have us dumbfounded, and therefore many of the great things that we've done, our legacy, our story, we had no knowledge of it. We had forgotten. It was in a state of amnesia as a race of people, as a species. In many species, we were lost. Understood? Now, in order to bring us back to where we needed to be, an antidote was prepared. And what's the interesting thing about the word antidote is that part of the poison is in the cure. Understood? So it's obviously forcing the immune system to develop various different antibodies, etc., to attack the disease. You understand? So you put a bit of the poison in the actual cure. You understand? And so therefore the Master Teacher said, I came giving you what you want so you would learn to want what I really came to give, because Wu-Sabat in its form as it was brought in 1963 was too heavy for the people, and so a certain combination was prepared in order to teach what needed to be taught and bring the minds of the people up at a relatively steady pace, even though, as I say, a lot of information had to be conveyed at a short time. So that's why we say master teacher. We don't say master teacher from an egotistical point of view. It's saying that the individual is claiming to be master at teaching. Understood? And so that combination that came there, this is master teacher age 25, was him as Isa al-Mahdi, and they conveyed Wu-Sabat under the cloak of the Ancestral school, using the Muslim degree, so that it would confuse the enemies, as I say, as to what was really taking place. Understood? So as you were learning in those monotheistic degrees or teachings, you were being spoon-fed or given your ancient Egyptian or the science of Wu-Sabat, so that those who, I say, would try to stop the beautiful words from being conveyed, understood, would struggle, because were we Muslims? Were we Jews? Were we Christians? What were we? You understand? we wore the symbols of all of them, learned about all of them, to confuse. Who was this, the person, etc., that they were expecting to come back and bring this superior knowledge, as I say, Affirmation, to aid our transformation. So that combination was Isa al-Mahdi and the Ifrit being within, so the incarnated Nathar, yes, from one of the Panatharu incarnating in, so 19th elder out of 24, takes on the 25th seat here on the planet Earth, understood. So you can imagine 24 spokes in a circle. It's similar to the Vendora star map, and then the one in the center is here on Earth. So the Ifrit being to deal with these first religious degrees was El Khadir, what known as the Green One. And then, as I say, we had a book released in 1996, a very significant book, predicted, in fact, by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, called the Book of Lamb, or that's what he referred to as the Book of Lamb, but known at that time by the Holy Tablets. The Lamb is an Arabic letter, and men used to see the master teacher in a shepherd's type attire with a crook or staff in his hand. The upright version, if you turned it upside down, it looked like the Arabic letter Lam. This was because each chapter of the Holy Tablets started with the word Lo, L-O, Lo. So this was codified language for the incoming of this book, which was the bridge between religion and reality. 19 chapters, which is to say still available now, and once the master teacher, currently incarcerated, is released, we'll update that book to the modern title. Sometimes you see in certain books, like even when Hara M. Habab was reading out some of those details, some old titles are still there. El Elo, Yahweh Elohim. These are religious titles, understood, which are, say, a transitioning point to take us back to how we should be expressing ourselves in Misbatia, as we get these new titles and understand the importance of sound, of tone, and how tones unlock certain powers within natural nature, which is why it's important. But obviously, we're walking through a transitional period. So clearly, intention behind those tones is important as the words, but now you're getting now to know certain things now and come back into knowledge of who you are. Then you need to use the right tones to unlock the right type of forces, like dialing the telephone number on a mobile phone. If you don't dial the right number, you're not going to get to contact who you want to contact. You can't just press buttons randomly on the phone just because I've got faith, belief, intention behind what I'm saying and expect to contact the person who you're seeking to connect with. Understood? So you have to treat the glands in your body, the etheric aspect of oneself, the hypothalamus gland, for example, which is like a radio to connect us into higher forces. You have to treat that like a mobile phone. Understood? And direct your energy, spiritual energies, according to it. That's what prayer is. If you pray the wrong way, you become prey. P-R-E-Y. We say it all the time in this class. That's how serious it is. Yeah, so we spent last class going through in some detail how to connect with your ancestors, because that's a force that we are, and a source of power, yeah, an unlimited power that we've not been tapping into and wondering why we keep losing. Yeah, because he's made it his job, the Mukasu, the Caucasian, however you want to say it, and all of their followers, the wannabes. Understood? Yeah, made it their job for those who really knew, not the ones who've been brainwashed and don't really know who they are or their history or their story, anything like that. It'll be the majority of them to some degree. But the ones who really knew have been a hindering force for us in the last 6,000 years, who have stopped us as a people from transitioning, as I say, from mortals back into deities again, for us to become 720 beings, or really pick up the cloak of a 720 being once we transition out of the point of the physical body, that we would be ready to take on and become and transform into Natharu as their children of the Natharu, or overseers. So a new combination was needed here once we stepped out of those monotheistic religious degrees, stepping into the reality of who we are, truly are, and enabling us to truly fulfill our potential by moving us into the Patarat, which is the guidance and the actual facts. Understood? Yeah, no more, to some degree, symbolism, as they would refer to it, as you're getting it as it was supposed to be taught, you're getting it raw, etc., etc. Understood? As much as what can be expressed, and anything else that may be considered to be secret, so to speak, would be conveyed then in the various different orders. So, and that's to keep knowledge away from the fool. You understand? Because clearly a lot of people out there tripping, taking information, combining certain things, etc., and end up fooling people. So I think we've had enough of being fooled. So you need to have the necessary tools to protect yourself, to be able to discern that which is fact from fiction or faith, belief, so on and so forth. Yeah, you have the right to know and should know things, etc. And we are stepping back, as I say, from the light into the darkness, which is obviously the world of something, into the world of things. Yeah, so you need to know it all. And so this is why this is a scientific doctrine, been designed for your mindset in this day and time. We are scientists, so we seek to know things factual. It's not about faith and belief. Spirituality is still, it doesn't excuse not knowing. It doesn't excuse things not being provable, things not being factual, etc. Understood? So don't mistake that for ignorance. You still have to know things, and obviously knowing what's in the darkness, you have to understand how it's all structured, how it's all hung together, etc. If it was just about what was in the master teacher's mind, then we wouldn't know anything. It would just be a belief thing. He took what was communicated to him in his mind and put it in a form that the world could read. You understand? Yeah, re-add that which was lost. Understood? And that takes dedication, that takes commitment, that takes help from many different people. Obviously, some put their lives at risk to get this doctrine, or the beautiful words out to the people to address the ugly conditions. So this is why this is incredibly important, understood? Because in service, okay, I can have ideas in my mind, but if I don't put it in a form that you can take away, go away, study, etc., then you understand, it's just a sound, nice thing. You understand? It's just like the preachers, etc. We didn't need a preacher. We didn't want a preacher. Let's get that straight. We wanted a teacher. And so what we asked for, what we prayed for, even if we didn't know who we were praying to, who we were asking for, etc., we you understand, those they saw the pain, understand, they saw the conditions that we were in, and sent somebody accordingly. But now they want to try and make you feel guilty for following or connecting with your own people who look like you. Understood? And that has to stop. That's the ultimate aspect of the spell, which is stopping us from recognizing leadership in our own skin color. Understood? And we're all leaders. Yeah, everybody here, under the rules of existence, in the sand, everything and all things are exactly the same as it pertains to us. You understand? So everybody is leaders the same way as you see the structure of a cell is the same way as the structure of a solar system, is the structure of a universe, etc. So it has the same abilities, content, and also you have different roles depending on the environments that we're in. Understood? However, everybody has to take a leadership role. Like every cell in the body has purpose, has a function, and has to do its part in order for the body to function in a perfected state. Understood? So one is sent amongst us to come and bring this spiritual unifying science to us in this day and time, to unify the minds, you understand, of Planetari's descendants, in order for us to say, to truly become who we are and fulfill our potential. So Dr. Malachi Z York, and the being housed, known as Ba'h B'ah Yaanuwn, so well over 1,000 books written, and a doctrine there really for us to master. So if you've got a master teacher, then really you should be mastering what the teacher has taught. Understood? And so, yes, there's a lot of love and positive sentiment, but that also comes with a lot of hate, as you've seen with other teachers or leaders who have come along and tried to correct or reverse the conditions that our people, as I say, have found themselves in. So, any questions, Hara and Habab?
There are no questions currently, Nabab Katnihes.
Okay, so please, take some time out if you want to. If you just join us for the first time to find out about Wu-Sabat. I'm going to get into the class today. I do want to touch on an area. So obviously, this is that journey that we must apply to all knowledge, not just Wu-Sabat. Understood? So all knowledge, and you can find yourself in life, really, I suppose, in a journey of pure hypocrisy, because when you pick up a chicken at the supermarket, are you putting it through these tests? Yeah, or do you accept the fact that because the Mukasa was written chicken on the label, that it is what it is? You understand? So it applies to all things in life. It doesn't apply to us just teaching this class or knowledge, or if someone's getting into a discussion about Muslims versus Jews versus Christians, so on and so forth, then all of a sudden these questions apply. They apply to life, all aspects of life. Do we know things as opposed to belief and acceptance? So we talked about those words, I think in not the last one, but the previous class, the importance of how those words need to be reclaimed, and put heavy guard, fencing, whatever, mental fencing around it to protect yourself from what you have accepted. Excuse me. Yeah, and so your knowledge questions are key, or these 9. So they started off with 6 questions, 6 W's: who, what, where, why, when, and how, understood. And then the proof, by way of Ba'h B'ah Yaanuwn, this is where this is extracted from, talks about these 9 steps. So 1, what, 2, where, 3, when, 4, why, 5, how, 6, who. Asking those questions will deliver proof. This is what one is seeking. Then we want confirmation, and then as ontologists, it should reveal what that thing, you understand, is. Understood? And there is a difference, as you can see, between a who and a what. So the who is what we are according to natural nature. That what is what we have become by way of certain decisions that we have taken in the environment. So is there a gap between the two? Yes, they got fancy words like imposter syndrome and different things like that now for how people may behave in a workplace, etc. But it's a good step back indicator to understand, hey, who am I really? Well, if you don't know who you are, then how can you attend to the things that are going to help you fulfill your potential, really? You're going to be within their plan of what they perceive success is, understood? And that may not be what's best for you as an individual. Hence, as I say, a lot of advice, guidance, laws, etc. in the countries where you exist around the world. We've got many people in different places around the world. Certainly, if they wasn't designed with a full and proper understanding of existence and the rules that govern existence, then, you know, what advice is good for one set, species of people, race of people, is not necessarily what is best or for us to optimize ourselves within the environment. So our mindset in Wu-Sabat was, as you see there, understood, to question, etc. But, you know, we found ourselves, certainly in this society, placing a lot of trust in the various institutions that surround ourselves and provide, as I say, a lot of services with us, and have inserted their self between us and nature. So we have stepped away from reality. So it's an ongoing journey, understood, that has to be, you know, we walk through to really become in the same mindset of how our ancestors work. And so I think when you go back to certain African countries, for example, one of the things that you see if you're coming here from the West, for example, or born here in the West, is that there's a difference when, I suppose, everybody around you, like the posters, the people on the television, etc., are all the same colour as you. It's a different type of feeling that, you know, it sort of maybe cause you to really step back and think about the weight of, you know, racism in the West, and because it's so much in your face, you know, over in Africa it's more systematic, maybe in certain places, for how the countries, etc., was set up and the sort of conditions they find themselves in today. However, the cultural aspect of it, it can be quite deep, of how every day you're fighting against a system that doesn't really check for you in that particular way. So you have to do that work, and this is why many of you are attracted to this doctrine or these classes, etc., because you're trying to find this who. Yeah, you're seeking out, what is this? What's my purpose? Who am I? Etc. Why are we here? All these kind of questions, and it's an ongoing process. And so you're connecting with the one they sent to answer those questions. Yes, of your own tribe, people, race, etc., etc. So the reason why we present this in this kind of multi-medium way is because actual facts not exclusive to these 9 areas, but certainly it's a step up, because the Holy Tablets introduced us to evidence, experience, and reason, not reasons, but reason, as our knowledge test, because not everything, all knowledge cannot be obviously achieved by the same tests. So that was our sort of foundation. And then actual facts moved us onto these areas here. So it's easier to show you a map than it is for me to talk or describe what a map is, isn't it? You understand, in the day and time that we're living in. So if you are going on to teach others, always be cognizant of, say, you are in service to others, so help them to, I suppose, understand what you were taught and how it was given to you. So the master teacher writing stuff in books, that books have got diagrams, they've got pictures, they've got references to go and check things out, etc. All that's done to assist you in that journey. So obviously, if I then come back up and I'm just talking to you about it all the time, do you understand? Then it's just words into your ears. Yeah, you need help with pictures and diagrams and referencing, etc., etc. So and then this is all just to guide you to go and read the book anyway, not from a sales particular perspective or point of view, but it's just reading, or that medium, as well as listening, all the different types, but it helps us to then lock things in. So it's not just something we hear, it should be able to be something we're locking into our being, becomes part of us, so we're able to, teach to others, each one teach one. Understood? Because that's, again, a power within us all. So there's no exclusive. We are student teachers, all has the potential to be student teachers, and particularly, I said this on this class before, particularly those who are sacred feminines, because there is a difference in your delivery because of your connection still to natural nature, by way of the fact that you are still connected to the stars, etc., because your menstrual cycle is tied into the 4 phases of the moon. So that connection to natural nature is still there, it's still deep, and it's not the same for us as sacred masculine. So certain knowledge, when you're teaching, seek out a book called Actual Facts number 19, Who is God, female or male, because in that book, as I say, it deals with a certain the breakdown, as I say, of Pa'ut, or let's say Pa'ut all, and the difference between Pa'ut all and Pa'ut. So excuse me, Pa'ut and Pa'ut. So all and the all. Yes, understood. And when you understand that connection as a female to the environment, as we have said in this class before, religion as they understand it today is over when you guys start teaching, because it is males who translated the books and obviously are responsible for the creation of modern day religion as you have it today, which is causing obviously a lot of the problems, or the virus in the mind, which Wu-Sabat is addressing and has been addressing by way of the master teacher, or the Ba'h B'ah Yaanuwn, who came dealing with the information, seeking to correct all of these various major schools that were being taught out here. But obviously in doing that was also, as I say, walking us back to answer the question of who we are and our real, true purpose within existence, or even as existence. Now, we're touching upon some religious subjects, not say religious subjects, we're touching upon some race subjects today, and we do have a statement in our doctrine: no one wins a race in racism. It's not about racism, it's about race unity. So we're not into wrong racism, but we will talk about the inequalities and the differences, etc., between the races. Now, in this society, if you point those things out, they got certain names for us, black supremacists, all these kind of different foolish titles or whatever, but nothing of the sort. I think when you look at black people, particularly born in the West, after everything that's been done to us, we still give the society a fair shot. We still act in a way where we contribute to religion, culture, and various different things which have pure subliminals in. Understood? So we gave it a fair shot. We gave your society a fair shot. We gave you a fair shot And yet still in 2021, are we still dealing with racism however many years after certain laws, etc., were introduced? So it's about a new way for us to find success for ourselves. And we don't need to put our foots on the necks of other races in order to find that success. Understood? When we wake up every morning and we breathe through our nose and out through our mouth, air is provided for us. Understood? Yes. Our bodies are already working in tune with natural nature, both consciously and subconsciously. So we don't need to put our foot in certain attack, etc., other races in order for us to progress. However, when injustice is done to us, and when the visible or invisible enemies are seeking to attack us, they must be highlighted, pointed out, so that we can protect ourselves for our own self-preservation, and not to be used by other races or other forces to become food in their food to sustain their forces in opposition to our own self-preservation. So one of the things that's important is that when we are talking about Mukasu or Caucasoids, etc., in that regard, we are making some. You have to understand the context about hybrids, and so here, important point. I think at the bottom there, you're not the white race. When we are referring to that, it's not just about the color of skin. It's if you're not Rh negative blood types. So in the context of this virus and various other different things going on, people are getting confused with the wrong argument if you're a Nagaru. Do you understand? So don't get caught up in all this vaccine hype and all these different types of things. It has nothing to do with us. You were prepared and given certain information to prepare you for the day and time we're in right now. Understood? Yeah, by the Munthar, Pa-Munthar, the warner. And that's evidenced by the virus was already in these books a long time ago, expressing what took place. And even now, with the master teacher being incarcerated, every single thing, how this virus was to evolve, where it came from, etc., has been given to you in advance to prepare you. To not put you in a fearful state. That doesn't mean to say that we're not in danger or we wasn't doing things necessary to prepare ourselves for the situation which is going to get worse, etc. We shouldn't be waking up every day in fear of certain things. You've been given information to protect you in this day and time to know how to move. And not everybody's perspective on this is the same. So you have to understand our perspective as Musbatu, or Sabians, and what the context is of what is taking place right now. Yes, because we've always been taught a plethora of knowledge, understand? And what the interesting thing when people try and refer to us as supremacist, you read a book like Man from Planet Risk, who were you being taught about? You were being taught about Nikola Tesla. Is Nikola Tesla considered to be a Nagaru in this day and time? No, he's not. So, but we learned about Nikola Tesla. We learned about Albert Biek, understand, and all these various different characters. They wasn't Nagaru. So when they make certain accusations, you have to look at the material, the source, analyze things and see what's really going on. Because we're not the racists out here, trust me. The most racist people on the planet is the Mukasu, because nobody else can classify themselves as that. Even if you're mixed race, you could never walk up and say, yeah, well, I'm a white person and you've got, sort of darker skin and curly hair, even though you're, as they say, half white or half black, or whatever the case may be. You can't rock up and call yourself white. Never be accepted. In fact, the world would see you as crazy. And you're supposed to be mixed. You keep saying, I'm half this, I'm half that. But you can't call yourself white. You can't call yourself white. But when you call yourself black, we accept you. So this is the games that get played, understood here. So don't get caught up in the hype. Yeah, we're not doomsday preachers. Yeah, we are self-preservationists. So the master teacher is bringing us the information as the warner for this day and time. And they're doing their best to hope that we get caught up in the judgment, let's say, from natural nature that's coming their way. And even that has got nothing to do with us. That is their overlords exacting judgment and punishment upon them. They're trying to get rid of certain hybrids. Understood? Yeah. So if you don't have Rh negative blood, you're not the white race, not according to our definition. So in fact, as I say, what the black race really encompasses is the majority of people really on the planet, because we gave birth to everybody. But the reality is most of the planet, or I won't say most of the planet, but a lot of the planet is wannabes. Isn't it? They want to be Caucasian. Yeah, as these depictions, or as a depiction of beauty, or as they've shown in their movies, etc., etc. There's a lot of wannabes. So the reality is, even if you taught or tried to express to people, hey, look at your genes, look at your description, etc., you're actually more on the melanin dominant side of the game, so to speak, they wouldn't accept it. So a lot of people are Caucasian in mind, even who are black. They are Caucasian in mind because they've been brain dirtied by the media, the power of the media. Yeah, look, I love entertainment. I love, you understand, watching movies, etc., etc. But the television is not our friend. The cinema is not our friend. It's always compromise. It's always subliminals. And it will continue to be that way until we are really behind the camera. Not just behind the camera, we're the ones not only funding it, making decisions, etc., writing it, expressing it, who have knowledge and understanding of the who we are and how we need to be displayed and portrayed on the screen, in an environment that's conducive, as I say, to us. Yeah? They want to make themselves, as I say, divine, the deity, the superiors through the television screen. Yes, but the white race, as I say, going back, is not white if they don't have Rh negative blood types. And let's be clear, the creator of Solalism or racism, as it's said in English, is their own deities. Genesis chapter 3:15. I will put what? Enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. The word seed there is zera. Yeah, it's physical seed. They're not a spirit being or things of that nature. A physical seed, zera. You're interested in that movie Planet Apes, one of the characters. That was one of her names, isn't it? Zera. Yeah, the same link to the word Zoe. Yeah, it means life. Yeah, seed. So they're going to put what? Enmity. Oba. Let's look at here. Oba. I mean, okay, hatred. Hostility. Hate between seeds. So who's responsible? God is love, right? Not according to this. God is a troublemaker. Straight up in their book, their God is a troublemaker. Yeah, hatred between, because they want to keep certain different hybrids preserved. If you don't understand the context, you don't understand. Now, here we see that in our doctrine, yeah, according to actual facts, his story, we should be replacing the word race, because the word race, or another name for it, maybe not replace it, but upgrading it, we would say, because we understand that as Nagaru, for example, based on natural nature's design, understood, yeah, we were split into nine, split. We were created by 9 deity minds, understood, which led us to be in 9 different species of Nagaru, which ties into the 9 dwelling places that we see here created within the environment. Understood? Now it's referred to as a planet. And when you reverse that word planet, or read it with dyslexia, you see plan, ET, or extraterrestrial plan. And so the different races are known as planetary nations. Understood? As we read about here in his story, you see there, verse 65. It says, as you compare today to the three major races and numerous subdivision races of human beings, called what? Planetary nations on Plan ET and Extraterrestrials Plan. 6366. The 9 subdivision races of deities constituted this universe. Papa Ut, the all race or universe nation on Makab Mata. And by extension of all, Papa Ut, the all, this Wahul, Makwan universe, and all the Kale Makwanat omniverse. Know yourself. So here we see that basically what is being called the Nagaru race of 9 different distinct species with independent characteristics overstood is known as the all race or the universe nation. Yes, and one of the interesting things about it is because when we look here and we see, let's just jump here. Yes, it tells you each race, this is from the harvest, part of actual facts of harvest. Each Salau race has to have representatives of the Galactic Federation, and I am who represents our Salau race. But when it tells you about the Mukasu or the Caucasians, it says that is why the Mutatalu, extraterrestrials, will not come before them. They are no longer represented by any Sabat Shahasu star people. Remember, they're Pleiadians, who are the lords and gods of their Bible, overstood, and then latterly the Draconians. Remember, they're Pleiadians, their overlords, the ones who created them, abandoned. Yeah, and so it was already told what would take place. We'll show you a few other references saying that, look, it was already predicted what was taking place. They put in place the plan to wipe out their own creation. Their own God did that. So don't get caught up in their stuff. Don't get caught up in his story. Don't get caught up on his destruction pathway because he rebelled against his own ancestors. He rebelled against his own deities. That's not our vibration. It's not our stuff. You understand? So always understand context. And whether you like it or not, it's not me being racist, it's not me promoting racism. You understand? Many of us have examples where we intermeet, friends, felt, etc., all different races on the planet. They're at detriment to our own development. It's not about wrong racism for us, but it is about finding out who we are. And everybody's got their own journey. They just don't say it outwardly like black people do. We always run up our mouth, oh, we got black this, black that, black this, black that. And then find a way all the time to include white people in it. They're a program with a black presenter, black producers, black this, black that, black that. And then boom, as soon as it gets successful, well, we need to bring a white person. Is that what everybody else does for us? Look around, people. Respect what's going on. Look around the environment again. Come on now. So, what we're seeing here is a say replaced by nation. You understand? We are, planetary nations is the word for, or the updated word for races and the different races. As you said, you have to respect the system. Might not like it. You understand? Forget the Benetton ad. Everybody interacting all together. You have a distinct journey. Yeah, you are physically, your DNA, RNA expression is linked etherically or spiritually to your own ancestry, vibrating on a certain range within the electromagnetic spectrum and even beyond, understood, or what we talk about as the planes of existence, and each vibrating within their own range. You cannot choose your religion. You can choose it, but you would be going against your natural nature. So a doctrine is designed for a certain group of people. It doesn't mean that you can't learn from other races, understand? But it's designed and tailored for you specifically. Hence why they send you a warner in this day and time, tailored for you. And anybody else who wants to listen, yes, of course, because we were here first. So of course our doctrine should be of interest to all other races, because you're understanding the origin of all of us when you learn our story. Of course it would be of interest, but those of us who are from it, linked to it, DNA, blood related to our ancestors, connected ethically, so on and so forth. This is our stuff which we should be paying attention to, and we shouldn't try to keep watering it down every minute by adding in or letting them make you feel guilty. So, oh, you've got your own teacher. Oh, boom, he's black. Or you can't align yourself with that individual and study and learn and master what needs to be mastered under that teacher. As he said himself, isn't it? Or as it was conveyed, you can wrestle, sitting under that master, you can wrestle with that master and make all other races rule you, or you can sit under and be guided by the master and rule all others other than who are not you. I'm paraphrasing. Do you understand? So we're wrestling with the one who was sent to us, and we're still under the rulership of all others, instead of mastering what that one who came to send us and take our place once again to rule and govern the environment as the children of Planetary. Rule does not mean subjugate. It means applying and respecting the natural rules of nature within this environment. Optimized, you understand, for those who are naturally created within the environment. And nature, not us, natural nature, the planet is saying, I'm getting rid of the unnatural, the hybrids. And the extraterrestrials are simply a part or tying in to that plan. So their war is against their own that they created, to take and wipe them out. We get caught up in the middle of it because we're here. And they use us, as a shield for them. This is why they attack teachers who talk about go back to Africa. They don't attack the teachers who stay here in the West, chill in the West. The ones that say go back to Africa, be amongst, and come out the West. They go back home, establish X, Y, Z. That's who they get, because basically, as I say, Gad, the son of Jacob. When we talked about that last time, you look at the phonetics of the word Gad, son of Jacob. He's the seventh son of Jacob. The word Gad, God, and God. Yeah, it's the same phonetic sound. You become a God for them. That's why I teach you about God. We protect them. We die for them. We'll jump in front of bullets for them. They would not do the same for you, and do not do the same for you. This is part of the trick knowledge. Yeah, offering yourself up to those six ether ghostational forces. So here, wine or help from above. Interesting enough, we see it's talking about viruses. Long before there was any corona and all this kind of stuff being discussed, what was to take place was already in the making. Understood? It had nothing to do with no mark of the beast or controlling everybody by their genes, so on and so forth. Not as it pertains to us. As I say, we taught you about mark of the beast. From the 60s, you were taught about it by the master teacher. Teach you about mark of the beast, the Visa card, all these different types of things. We taught you all of that. But the advice that came with it was, for example, in that instance, was to use credit. The advice was not, don't do this, etc. It was to use credit. You need it, but use it. Don't make it use you. So the religious degrees give a fatalistic kind of approach, that you were being given that for a certain reason, understood, but then you were given guidance of how to move when in the day and times, chaotic day and times that we're living in right now. Understood? Yeah, so pay attention to the living Nathar and the guidance that's being given. Don't get caught up in the hype. Now, it tells you here in this master secret, you see here in verse 41. Now, obviously they made different, obviously there's the original Caucasians and made different sub-races, etc. from mixing. We ourselves, our genes have been tampered with because people wanted to tie into the vine, the dominant genes, etc. So we are mixed and blended up all over the world as well. Understood? But obviously our genes are strong, they're dominant, and have still retained that dominance. But we're not the same as who we were originally as those Sands people, and hence why they refer to us as their, in some books, their evolutionary descendants. Now, see here in verse 39. So none of these existed on Taha Earth before 4000 BC. So the previous sessions went through a number of events that have taken place in his and our story that were dealing with the fact of why they were created and why certain things, as I say, got introduced. And there's a crossover in there because, as I say, where they were created in a sense to be weapons because of this issue with the food of the gods and certain extraterrestrials running ransacking the planet, etc., and order being introduced. At a certain point, the Anunnaki and the Nathari worked together to introduce or help them to introduce these group of diseased individuals who that when these draconians would then eat these human beings, they would contract that disease and die off. But many of those things have been left in the society, etc. And so if one then follows in those characteristics, for example, being, I don't know, gluttonous, you understand, or oversexed, etc., then that pathway of self-destruction will deal with anybody who is going to basically decide to express those characteristics and not change and modify their behavior to be in line with natural nature. Understood? So this is why it feels like there's some kind of crossover, or the term said, why did God create the devil? You understand? That's one of the questions. I think it's an old book or of ours as well. I don't think that's quite the title, but you understand what I'm saying. So why did God create the devil? Why is there this devil allowed to exist in the environment? Because these things which are there are designed to wipe out these hybrids and anybody who chooses to want to live that way of life. So it'd be fatalistic for them as part of this cleanup process. So we see here about these certain diseases and sicknesses. None of these existed on Earth before 4000 BC. 40. So, and I'll replace Nuwapu with Musbatu. Yeah, Musbatu, those who are mixed with Adamites and those born by way of racial mixing to birth sub-races who also eat and ate anything, slept with anything. 41. They are also being removed as part of the healing of the Kawak planet of unnatural nature. 42. It is being done right now as over many years by virus, which means in Latin poison. 43. Every time the Labansalau white race expands, their markers send upon plagues to reduce their population down to a selected number because of their tampering with genes to birth neutrinoids or mixed races of Shakhasu people with no race or hybrids called brids a new race. So we understand the hybrids, they're taking out certain hybrids. This is why these diseases, etc., or the virus is targeted very specifically at them. They're interested in keeping a certain group, and then obviously the ones with dark hair, dark eyes, etc., who have more Nagaru in them, obviously is for them to mix back in with the dominant race if they choose to, and then that's their method of survival. Everybody else, other than that pure seeded hybrids, they're seeking to take out. 46. So the Haman Mudwa, human devil, has now tempered with natural nature, a semem, divine violation. Yes, that was mixing their genes and seed with animals. To make fake unnatural things, elements travel out of this Earth's atmosphere, bring back things that should have been left out there, and cloning and crossbreeding, as we just said there, humans and animals. Yeah, one chromosomes out of space and elements. 48. It's not what meant you eat as all beef or goat or lamb, yet what did they eat? Such as chazar, pig, brains and other body waste fed them. So we understand that you see pork in the reason why they like people to eat pork, I'm saying you find it in a lot of different products, is because obviously that taste or flavoring, etc., is what their overlords or overseers like to eat. Understood? So you see it manifested in a lot of different products and things set around to give your internals that seasoning, flavor, etc. Yeah, so you could become food for the gods by taking in, as I say, this pig or white meat, so they classify it as. Now, 449. For this, they now have to deal with their end by way of 24 viruses today. There are many out of control, such as, I'm going to read them, see them on the screen. 50. And their family's leprosy, a curse put on Noah's grandson Canaan of the seed of Innersites, of Adamites, Laban of Lebanon, White Land, Baalbek. 51. They retain or keep many species of animals, Lebanon on earth that natural nature intended to remove for new ones. This upsets the natural order of Taldad, birth, and Tamwat, death. Their very breath upsets natural order of the Semen, divine plan. 52. When your time comes, you must be replaced. That is the natural rules of nature. Different to laws. Laws are man-made. Natural rules are what governs existence. Yes? 53. Also to take a lichen wolf and domesticate it into many breed of kulabat, dogs today, that is also to upset natural nature as well as the Kutatat, felines. 54. They have crossbred species to make unnatural kinds of cats and mules and simians. They're using animals like rodents to grow human parts. 55. They crossbred the fawakat, fruits, even seedless, and plants. All this is unnatural nature and violates the divine rules of nature. As a result, they are being removed by natural nature herself. Nararat, fires, Ramarat, floods, weather, and self-hate and other mental defects, even wars. 56. And finally, there will be 24 viruses from 4000 BC to affect creatures, then mutate to humans. They will grow in multiples of 3s. 3, then 6, then 9, then 12, then 15, then 18 to 24 epidemics. Some call today disease. 1, disease, Khalay. 2, plague, Nagar, 3, virus, Tahal. 4, colds, Zakam. 5, sick, Kala. 6, fever, Kadah. 7, ill, Ra'ah. 8, effect, Taraf. 9, malady, Marad. 57, everything about Pala Ben Salau, the white race is fake. 58, he made a creature called a kind of man, made to look like man or man's kind, human's kind, not an original, not part of natural nature. 59, so he lives by kathabat, lies, and shash, deception. 60, you cannot trust anything he says. He must mix lie with the sadak, truth, the fiction with the hatak, fact. 61, the faith with the fate. 75% of their commercials on TV is how to fight their diseases or make them look alive as they are the living dead or the walking dead, and they know it. 62, they live in pain all their lives. Many can't breathe out their noses. They are stiff and hate you. 63. Because if you avoid them and mixing with them, none of the above will inflict your khatat body. So this was already programmed and targeted for them, understood, and clearly the reason for saying obviously focus on our own stuff was for self-preservation, for protective reasoning. Now, obviously, we're still here among them. So the guidance, obviously, that's being provided is for the conditions that we find ourselves in today. Remember, the plan, taking the master teacher away, the land away, all these different things is designed, as I say, to keep us around them so that we inherit their fate. Understand? Because, as I say, judgment under the natural rules in nature. Understand? You attack other human beings just because of their race, you subjugate other human beings, etc., etc. All these things come with consequences. Even if it doesn't seem like it in the moment that judgment is coming. Understood? And even if you try to use a scapegoat tactics, etc., you only delay judgment. You don't eliminate it. Understood? So that's coming, as I say, by way of their own overlords or overseers or ancestors and natural nature. Understood? So any questions before we get into what we're talking about today?
Yes, we have a question from Nababtat. Can we get a link to last week's recording, please?
Yes, it is on our YouTube channel, All Eyes on Egypt, Midlands in the North.
Okay, we have another question from Anonymous. So are you saying all of that about the virus? Is it safe to take the Moderna vaccine, even with Hillary Clinton stating on national television that the vaccines had some form of GPS marker called Luciferus or something close to that?
Well, I'm not going to state that. I'm going to say this. Everybody who has to take, if they choose to take the vaccine, the Moderna vaccine, which is something advised from, I'm going to say who, but you know who, obviously, yes, is because of what's taking place right now. They designed that particular version of it for them. And you were warned to stay away from Johnson & Johnson and the other vaccines for a particular reason. Now, the point is that I'm not going to work with Hillary Clinton's just because it's Hillary Clinton. I'm going to more trust those who have shown interest in my preservation. I don't know Hillary Clinton's track record, understood, to say that she has shown interest in my self-preservation. In fact, as far as I'm aware, the Clintons are one of the reasons why there's the incarceration rates of Black people in America are significantly high. Understood? So I'm going to go with, based on my research, my knowledge, etc., I'm going to look out for the one who's looking out for us as a people. Now, when it comes to those type of decisions, each individual has to do and must do their own research, because one person taking a thing may affect their body very differently to another. Understood? So if you're in and around them, as we can see, we just was reading, if you are in and around them, then you need to protect yourself. And how you choose to do that, certain advice was given about a specific vaccine called the Moderna vaccine if you're in and around it. If you're not, then your immune system obviously can deal with it appropriately. But if you are around, you understand, then you need to take appropriate measures, because you don't know what people are doing in their houses. You don't know how people are moving, living, so on and so forth. So, certain things around this. Remember, we had a land, which would have allowed us, I suppose, to some degree to isolate. But you have to think, even in that type of situation, how would you have protected that virus from getting in? You understand? Because you would have to be in a situation where nobody could have left the environment or gone in and out, because you risk, say, infecting the whole of the tribe if you go out and come back in. So was that a realistic proposition? Now, it would have helped because we would have been able to isolate and work things accordingly to that time. But the devil got in there in 2002, May 8th, and curtailed that plan and is still seeking to curtail it. So things have to be adjusted to where we're at. How many dates have we missed? Key dates have we missed in our story for our preservation? So the reality is plans change, and they change because of, as it's expressed in your Master Secret number 1, we're not in a situation for what we have done, but for rather what we have failed to do. So you have to basically make a decision on whether you trust Hillary Clinton or you trust the Parmanthar who was sent. And as I say, from day point 1, where this virus has come from, it just explained to you there, they mixed truth with lies. So they didn't tell you the origin of the virus, that it really came from cats and dogs. Yeah, that's where its animal host is. Understood? From dogs. Yeah, you had the bird flu. You had simian flu. Yeah, you had swine flu. Now we have what? Dog flu. Yeah, all of the characteristics that make up who? These hybrids. Yeah, the animals that these extraterrestrials use to make them. So it's targeted at certain individuals for a certain reason. Yeah, and as it was expressed, they designed that one to protect them from themselves. So, as I say, if all are confident, they have no Mukasu genes inside of them, understood? If everybody's confident that they're pure seeded, understood, and their immune systems are tight, yeah, then do what you have to do. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm saying you make a decision which is best for yourself. Yeah, but sometimes you don't listen, must feel. So I'm not telling anybody here to take any vaccine, but the advice is a particular one in the solutions which have been offered is a particular one that say, if you're in and around, remember what that verse just said that we were just reading about in that Master Secret, if you're in and around them, then you need to take appropriate action and measures, and whatever you decide to do, you live with the consequences of that. You understand? So if you're going to boost up and protect your immune system to a level where it can deal with any disease, then so be it. You understand? But there's all advice out there saying if you're going to take a vaccine, then the one to take for us is the Moderna vaccine, because that's the one they designed for themselves. You understand? And let me tell you something. No amount of faith, belief, etc. You know, there's many people here in the West who have asked the Pan-Africanists. There are many people in the West who've had that sense of emotion and as I say, sense of returning, etc., etc. Gone back to Africa. I'm not getting any of my shots. I'm not getting da-da-da-da-da-da, and ended up dead. So the point is that you have to understand certain times that even because of who we are and where we're at and the conditions that we're in, sometimes even then, I'm not saying you can trust, you can't trust, but there are solutions in place sometimes where even our ancestors are using certain different races to put certain solutions in place because of where we're at as a people. And so remember, we read the Notes of Life, you see about the formulation of the computer. Understand? You, in some of the older True Light tapes, you see that the Parnathara made it a joke for us to eat what? Watermelon. Yes, so that it could rid us of the trichina worm, because they were forcing us to eat a lot of pork products. Yes? Some of the things, medical technologies in existence today, we talked about, just because you're a powerful individual or being, it doesn't mean that you evade the rules of the environment. We talked about Hatatcha Epsituk, one of the last individual sacred feminines, gatekeepers, to open up the gateway, where they allowed the Nathara to come through, allowed certain extraterrestrial, groups of extraterrestrials, to come through. She died of an abscess on her tooth. Yeah, so all of her power tied to everything that she had, she still died from abscess on her tooth. Today, which will be cleared up by a simple course of antibiotics. So let's not play hero here and think that, well, because we've got certain type of divine, that you don't take certain precautions. We are where we're at. And if we really care about it, then create the solution. I hear about people saying, don't do this, don't do that, don't take this, don't take that. Well, create the solution. Come together, all of the healers and the herbalists, and create the solution. Everything is don't do this, don't do that. Preventative this. Our people have reactive needs as well as preventative. That's why they find themselves in hospitals. That's why they find themselves having to go to these doctors. Yeah, all you herbalists, etc., come together and say, hey, we need to come together. Not me one doing my own solution, not me one doing my own preparations. Did you come together and form groups and hospitals and buildings and build a medical infrastructure? As soon as the Mukasu said, you can't use natural ingredients again, you all cowered and changed your names. I'm not a healer anymore, I'm this, I'm that, because you were subject to the laws that he put in. So don't front like you're out here providing some solution for our people. You wasn't the Ba'h B'ah Yaanuwn out here trying to create the solution for the race. Otherwise, you would have mass marketed any solution and put an industry in place. Hospital is big business. Yeah, so stop separating the people of vaccine, vaccinated, this, that, or whatever. How is it helping the race? If you've got the answers, promote your cure, prove your cure, so that we can get it out there for our people. If you've got an alternative suggestion. I'm not attacking the questioner. I'm saying it widely out to our people. If you've got better advice. Yeah, because I don't think the warner, the Palm Thar, would have said it if it didn't mean it, or that wasn't the best solution for the situation that we're in right now. And he has demonstrated showing love consistently for his people. He spent 20 years in prison, still in prison, suffering for his people. The Patriarch and actual fact are changing lives around the world today. Who else can say that they've been guided through these situations and know what steps to take in this heavily, heavily chaotic world? So no, I'm not convincing a person by their emotions. You now have the tools, the who, what, where, why, when, and how, to make an appropriate decision for your circumstances. And you now have the master's advice as well, which, by the way, to tell you that, isn't that person putting their life on the line, the risk, just to get this information out to you? Think about that for a second. How many people have to put their lives at risk to get even the words out to you over these last 20 years? And before then. Remember, once you put yourself out there, not only do you attract hate, you put yourself in the firing line. And let's be honest, do your people step up and protect you? No, most of the time you're on your own. Yeah, so either, as is said in our doctrine, either you're with me all of the way or none of the way. All or none. There's no part with Parnadara. Part is all for us. I am a part of, which is all. Everything and all things are exactly the same. You can't be half foot in and halfway out. You cannot serve two masters. Yeah, so either we're in with Parnatharu and we're rolling with that all the way, or we're not. There's no part and part. They've given us grace by allowing us the opportunity to transform, take time, you understand? Because we do have the genes of the Mukasu within us. which are continually hindering our progress. But how long can the four winds, as they say, be held back? How long before what they've got planned has to then take out all here in certain environments, as opposed to now where you're trying to move and juggle around certain things. So no, you have to put we don't even use the word trust. We don't even use the word trust loosely because we seek to do with facts. But trust is important. You have to shift that trust and the acceptance of who you consider to be the authority in this day and time from them to your own. And even in that, you've got to navigate, you understand, a certain plethora of difficulties and so on and so forth, internally in you and externally to you. The difference is this individual's telling you what the job, but this is a job that I've been sent to do. It's told you it from day one. You have a requirement to prove it, if obviously to yourself, if you care enough about yourself, understood, and then you make an intelligent decision based on weighing up those factors. You understand? Or you choose a different path, and that's cool. But as a deity, you inherit or you accept the consequences of those decisions. Any other questions?
There are no other questions.
So, let's throw in a few maxims just so you understand, or we're getting a better understanding, let me say that, of how the Natharu, or our Natharu, think. So just throw up a few maxims here. So 17, Maxims of Yaanuwn, this is from. So to overstand Panatharu overseers is to overstand the positive and negative of every individual. You cannot love Panatharu the overseers if you do not accept the positives, I should say, the positive and negative of every individual. You are not applying the principle of creation, because obviously nature accepts the agreeable and disagreeable from us. Yeah, so in one sense, we have to recognize certainly as a people who have, remember those genes that we just read about in 315, if that story be true, or the symbolism out of that, which causes us to say not to want to work together with each other for success. Yeah, which is why Wu-Sabat is supposed to be, remember, you go back to the older books, those right knowledge series, it's drilling it constantly, and even now, that it is supposed to be to unify the minds of us so we can come together physically. Yeah, so these remind us of, hey, look at how we've treated you, so remember that when you're dealing with each other. Yeah, it's not a case of wanting to make it work. We have to make it work. Otherwise, we would continue to always be in need. We broke that down in the previous class. Yet need opens you up to becoming a wanted. Yeah, when you have everything, yeah, or your needs taken care of by your own, you're not in need. Next one. 7, nature provided mortals with sustenance, intellect, and will. A combination of these produces a healthy, intelligent individual in a healthy environment. So again, these two things are really key. So one of the reasons why we tend to find that we struggle a lot is because we are subject, isn't it, to the environment that we're in. This is one of the influencing factors. This is why children can be raised in your home, and then when you send them out to school, it turns because they're in a different environment. Obviously, we know 24% of our DNA is in a dynamic, understood state. So it's reacting to the environments that we find ourselves within. Understood. So this is important in terms of understanding what's been imported into our minds and bodies. The other thing here, which is here, and it's in the book My Brother the Extraterrestrial as well, is about intelligent individuals. Yeah, so, you know, we're not a belief system, so we have to put that work in again. You know, we do have intelligence, and we need to use it, and we need to apply it to many different situations. You know, as the question asked previously, you have to have intelligence to be able to weigh certain things up and make a important or informed decision in life and in how we're dealing with certain things right now. So if we're not applying those principles of Wu-Sabat to every aspect of our lives, then, you know, the thing that we have to ask ourselves is really, look, if you do Caucasian things, can you be mad at the Caucasians when those things happen to you? So I don't know, let's say, for example, if you run and react to, what's the word I'm looking for? Trial by media, for example, and you condemn a person based on trial by media, can you get mad at the Caucasian for what they did to the master teacher? If you deploy trial by media to others. Because remember, the media is what caused black men in particular, and women, but black men in particular, to be guilty before proven innocent. It's the television, isn't it? It's the movies that have persistently put that out there, which is why when you're walking down the street, you could be, I don't know, Ted Bakered off, you got Patrick Cox on your feet, you're looking fly. And some white woman's going to grab her handbag as you're walking past when you're wearing $1,000 on your body, or £1,000 worth of clothes on your body. And grab your handbag while they're walking past. That's the media that's programmed that, and obviously their internal kind of programming, but the media has done that. So how can trial by media be a valid source of, or a trusted source to attest or look at a case? Why are we using it then to attack each other or others, etc., and throw judgment down on each other, when that's exactly the same thing that was done to the master in his case? As we said a few classes ago, the black person is always capable of the greatest evil, but never the greatest good. We made the point to say, even when you analyze the case, an uncomfortable case, when you analyze the case, in order for him to have done what they say he did to those victims, he would have had to have sex 11,000 times a month. Can a human being have sex 11,000 times a month? No. But when it's down to a black man, they don't say no. They say there's no smoke without fire. Is that true? Is that a true statement? Analyze it. This is what it means. Analyze, intelligent individual. Is that a true statement? Then how does dust set off smoke alarms? Let's keep it moving. So, 66, you can never escape who you are for what you want to be. So, we're learning about this. And it's always an ongoing fight. Yeah, and let's be honest, the environment is not conducive to us being who we are. Not conducive. This is the battle that every person here faces, deals with on a daily basis. Yeah, based on the type of choices that we have to make. Yeah, and you're always facing the fact and saying, all of us, don't care what position you're in, what title you have, all of us are always facing that in the physical, isn't it? Yeah, and what decisions we make. Do we really hate the world that we're in? Do we really hate it in the West? Do we really? Be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. Do you really hate it? Because if you really hated it, you would do things to reverse it. If you really cared. Do you really? You can be the most spiritual person in the world. Chant every day, you understand, fasting, all this different type of things or whatever. If you're not in service to others, then what's the point? It's about you then, isn't it? You're not putting yourself in service to other people. Yes? How are you going to really, really master or show that, yes, I'm a child of Natharu? You're not helping others. The sun shines every day. And no, not many in the world say thank you. Not many in the world say thank you for the air we breathe. They say thank God. They say thank Lord. They don't thank the planet. They don't thank the trees. They bypass their parents. If we've been given life, are we supposed to say thank you every day? And who should that thanks be directed to? Jesus? Muhammad? Moses? Or mommy and daddy? Try that one. That's our reality, isn't it? So we have to deal with the who we are, and prioritize that, and everything else is in the context of that, isn't it? Understand? So as one of my fellow student teachers said one time, you have to, as Mars I think explained, you have to frame your life around Wu-Sabat. It's not the other way around. Yeah, I live life, because that's how you do it in religion, is it? Live life, and then someday, I'm going to church, or Saturday I'm going this, or this, that, and this, that. Maybe there's more commitment from those who are a bit more dedicated, but you live your life framed around who you are, your culture, etc., etc. And that's why environment helps, let's be honest. Because if you're in and around it, then you're going to behave better because other people influence you, you're in around people, around strong people, so on and so forth. It influences you around to be better. But let's be honest, with some people in environments, they can't handle positivity and being good. So even that has to be addressed. They're always going to break the rules. They're always going to rebel. Never conform. The reason why we were taught to be non-conformist was in order to break the spell. It didn't mean that we would always be breaking rules. We were given a certain mindset of the children, particularly born after 1970, which basically was a seek and destroy mentality. That's why children or the youth were turning their hats backwards. That's why they were changing the meaning of words from bad to mean good. It was set in us, you understand, to kick off in the genes to rebel against the controls of the Makasu and the programming in the society. It did not mean to rebel against all rules when your culture is presented to you, and how to implement it and how to work with others, even if we don't achieve it in your lifetime. That's for the children and their children's children, so on and so forth, if we make those steps now. As we made the point previously, when the Illuminati, Adam Weishaupt, and those of the Bavarian chapter, they had to know that their New World Order or protocols of Zion that they were working on would not be completed in their lifetime. They had to know this. But they put those things in place for other people to take on board. Hence, you see, in maybe a comparative way, but in a similar way, how we have to pick certain things up. Because what we take in, what we read, what we study, what we then execute, remember, becomes part of that morphogenetic field. Which doesn't just, it influences the type of children that are going to be born next by our genes and also external to our genes. That's why it's easier for them to pick up Wu-Sabat now. Yeah, because of what you read, what you added to your matrix, what you added to part of the morphogenetic field. So we definitely have to understand who we are. That's just a reality. You understand? It doesn't matter what you choose to do. Certainly those who are Sabians on the call, you never get that same satisfaction when you're doing something in when you're doing things that are promoting your culture and progressing your people as a race. There's no more better satisfaction. The same way, like when you're thirsty, water is the thing that quenches the thirst. Nothing quenches the thirst more than water. Yeah, not juice, not fizzy drink, etc. Nothing quenches it more than water. So when you're doing stuff based on who you are, repping your culture, doing things with your culture, there's a satisfaction that's unmatched. Yeah, so you have to understand that. 65, I came giving you what you want, religion, so you would learn to want what I really came to give. Wu-Sabat. Yeah, so you couldn't call me a liar. Yeah, I told you before up front what I was going to do, how I was going to break the spell, how I was going to remove all that subliminal programming, how you've been brain dirtied. Yeah, you need your brains washed. Yeah, because you've been brain dirtied. Yeah, and it still applies even today. Yeah, I remember we expressed that in one of the updates in the previous class, that they like to keep you going back to these old schools because that is where the six ether forces are strongest. Stay up to date. Yeah, learn the new stuff. It's being sacrificed out there for a reason. Someone's sacrificing their life in prison for a reason. So master what is being given. It will transform you. That's what it's designed to do. It's not designed to trick you. It's not designed to hide things from you. It's designed to grow you, change you, elevate you. Anyone can connect with the master teacher. It's in the back of most of the books, the ritual, or Ba'h B'ah Yaanuwn. And we gave you the method to communicate with your ancestors. So you're not without guidance. You're never alone. Remember that statement that said in Partak Yud, you're never alone. Even if life sometimes feels that way, even if it backs you into a corner many times, you're never alone. Yeah, so it's an important statement to understand. Stay on the what is considered to be the circular path. Now, yeah, in actual facts and Partarak, it's a circular. It's not a straight line path. Yeah, don't get caught up in it. Also, I'm not saying to not respect what came before. Understood? But you have to update it. It's constantly changing. This doctrine is alive. Yeah, and it doesn't give it less validity because it's changing. You're used to a dead doctrine. Those religions don't change because everybody in those monotheistic religions is dead. It's the doctrine of the dead and dead forces. And those forces that want to promote death and decay and destruction. Six ether. So love is when two people find that which is missing in them in another person and start to build together. So another definition of love. Love is when two people find that which is missing in them in another person and start to build together. And so two become one. 168. When the pain is gone, the patient usually forgets their appointment with the healer. How many times that true? Yeah, how many times have people jumped on or come to classes or coming in around, yeah, when they're going through something in life or whatever, and then as soon as that particular thing is solved or they feel better, they disappear and go on about their life again. This one thing that's real about Wu-Sabat, whatever time, whatever effort, whatever energy we put in, what's going to be the output of that is going to be exactly the same. So if our people are in certain dire conditions with this, then you have to look at, well, how much energy, how much effort, how much intelligence, how much whatever money in some form of energy did we put behind a thing to make sure it was going to be successful. You know, how many grievances did we not put aside in the sun to making sure a thing was successful? And it's something you do every day in work. Let's be honest, for those who have jobs, something you do every day in work. Yeah, you work with people you don't like, you make certain things happen with people you don't like, you don't know them, you don't have to love them, you're not in relationships with them, etc., etc. But you do it because there's a paycheck at the end. And one of the last aspects of the spell, or the spell of Leviathan, one of its aspects is the spell of money. It doesn't have to be something you answer now or today, but have a think. How would society work if we wasn't getting paid to do a certain job? How would it work? Would you volunteer to be one of the sewage workers to get rid of all the sewage if there's no money involved? Remove money from the equation. So we're living together in some place somewhere. Are you going to do that job just for the betterment of society? Are you going to sweep the streets? Or does everybody want to be in the office? Do you understand? In the cushy jobs or whatever. Not that those jobs are not important. But you understand what I'm saying? If there's no money, how would our society be framed and structured? How would it work? Well, they say it on Star Trek, isn't it? There's no money. There's no Earth. There's no money on Earth. They've got rid of all the problems, etc. Yeah. So would you open up a restaurant and just be serving people? You're not getting paid. It's tiring, boom, 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 just for the satisfaction of giving people a good meal. I don't know. Something to think about. How would it work? Because we're going to be at that point at some point. And think about how that's going to work. Or whether it does work as a society. Maybe it does work. Or maybe it doesn't work. 226. It is not okay to kill over land, power, or religion. Not okay. Nor justified either. The rules of nature still kick in. This is this next one. 250. A fact kept to oneself becomes a lie. The best thing one can do is to remind others of these facts. How many people are really out here spreading the beautiful words? Oh, as long as you read it and you're good, then I'm good. How many really are on each one teach one? Or are even student teachers becoming a dying breed? A fact kept to oneself becomes a lie. This is a nice one. So 305, land is a gift from Parnatharu, the overseers, to woman, and the sea to man, and the air they both share. But the heavens will remain Parnatharu's, the overseers. So how we act while using the air, the land, and the sea will determine if they'll ever give us the gift of the heavens. So this is definitely a school, but not just a school, and not in the Hebrew way. I'm saying in terms of an area of study or learning for us to master, caring or catering or nurturing this environment as their children before we can ascend to inherit, let's say, higher responsibilities. Yeah. So does this say that we should, as men and women, be pointing the finger at each other? Or is it saying that we've got different roles and we have to kind of figure it out of how it's best going to work to manage the environment? Yeah, because in certain jobs, you're in such level of responsibility or roles of responsibility or whatever, you can't be in an argument. You got to figure out how we're going to move forward. Yeah, certain situations, the luxury or ability to be able to walk away is just not there. Well, it is there, but it comes with heavy and significant consequences. You think about having a baby. Can you walk away from that responsibility? Or do you have to figure it out and respond? That baby's in need. And you're in that primary responsibility to fulfill that need. So who's looking after the planet? Of that responsibility, not from a biblical point of view, but from the fact that we were the first people that certain responsibilities were handed over to us. And we've allowed others to take it over. Like we always do. We create music, we don't look after it, we hand it over. We create music of different things now, we give it over to somebody else. They may become the stars, etc., etc. We never protect what's been given to us to maintain that responsibility from birth or even adulthood to death. Always willing to give it away. That's why we don't have so much of our own. How many neighborhoods have we had which were ours? And we gave it away. Or allowed others to take it over. Not necessarily always by force either. We had a land, 476 acres. We allowed it to be taken away. Now we need it. Yeah, so when we're given something, yeah, and when we find out who we are we ready to take on those responsibilities again? This is what the world is watching. This is what the Mukasu is trying to complain about. Yeah, when they meet at that Bohemian Grove, it's about comparing. They're not ready. Look at them. Black Lives Matter. They're interested in when the next Jordans are coming out. So why can't we continue to live and rule? We're not focused. We need a further extension of time. Yeah, look at them. Look how easily they're tricked. They don't care about the planet. Give us an extension of time. And the answer is always no. And will continue to be no. Yeah, but are we going to step up? Yeah, and truly transform into what we're supposed to be. Start to work together. Start to build proper. Yeah, or allow forces to keep hindering us from success and progress. Any other questions?
No questions.
Okay, let's get into this mind's eye that we've got to deal with today. As we were dealing with that, we took a step away from where we were dealing with, and so we're jumping back in to where we were. Let's bear with me 1 second, people. Okay, let's see. All right, let's deal with right. So I think Mind's Eye here somewhere. Which I'm looking for, and the ghost. So it shows you, I think, who was who behind. I just remind people when we say freaks, we're dealing with the fact that various different creatures have been created on this planet or are in mythology on this planet. And this understanding that, say, when you ask somebody, do they believe in unicorns, for example, they will say, no, I don't believe in unicorns. Or you ask somebody who's a Christian, a Muslim, or a Jew, do you believe in unicorns? And they will flat out say, no, they don't believe in unicorns. However, unicorns are in the Bible. So if the Bible is the word of God, and in the Quran they tell you to go back to the books that came before, obviously Jews believe in the Torah, first 5 books of Moses, and the associated books afterwards in the Old Testament, then if you believe it's the word of God, then you do believe in unicorns. So the freaks is these plethora of different creatures that are around and how they came around, etc. But the perfect creature is the Sands people, you understand? Because they were created perfect for the environment that we're in, still with their connection to our overseers, the Planetary, who obviously placed the seeds in the water here and obviously nurtured our development. When they came here around about 450,000 years ago, having travelled in many millions of years before, back and forth, but specifically 450 years ago, and established a base in Antarctica, and then dropped certain seeds in the waters, which eventually, as they evolved into the Sands people for at least this cycle of our liberty. So, but however, we are interested particularly in an aspect of what we're dealing with here, which is dealing with something called the Mind's Eye. Yeah, and we are referred down this direction in Freaks and the Perfect Creature to understand and take control really of our thoughts, because, and listen, I'm not saying, obviously, we are spiritual beings. However, as we expressed earlier in this class today, just because you receive something in your mind, yeah, or you got a dream, or you saw this or that, does not make it real. It is real to you, but it's not real outside of you. It may be true to you, or it may appear to you, and that's what you've seen, but that's not what it appears like to somebody else outside of you. Only you see the dream, only you see the vision, so on and so forth. Yeah, and you have to be mindful of what is taking place in a person's mind and the influencing factors that can shape your vision. And how we need to protect ourselves. We need to be open-minded, of course, but we also need to control how we interpret that's what's coming into our mind, because other forces outside of what our physical eyes at least can see can manipulate that, as well as even ourselves internally, based on our own belief systems or what we've taken in, a lot of time by way of the media, how that influences the way we think. So Freaks and the Perfect Creature directs us to go and look at Parteract, the Mind's Eye. So that's what we're going to do. So it says here in the Mind's Eye, Likum, and I may change some of the words just to update them. But 1, Likum, my beloved, Musbatu Kharadu, Sabian children of Wu-Sabat, about seeing of Tayaf, ghost, Ka'a'u, spirits, spectres, and Etherians. 2, I, Ba'h B'ah Yaanuwn, have spoken much only to warn you of the dangers of those who use jasad, flesh, and daman, blood, to attract disembodied Ka'a'u spirits in their religions or rituals. So in these past sets of classes in Freaks and the Perfect Creature, we have been making a point to show you how certain forces, i.e. six ether forces, are using us in their religions, certain cultural things, etc., to prepare us to be used, as batteries almost, whether it's all physically for food, or on the other side when we transition to use our etheric aspect of self and our soul as a battery to fuel their forces. And how basically almost the whole society is set up for that purpose. Yeah, because as we expressed in a previous class, you do not know the value of the soul. So you don't know, or you're ignorant to what a person will be willing to do in order to get a piece of it. You don't understand the value because we don't understand who we are and the context of who we are. It's being told to us, but are we studying it and accepting it? Somebody says you're a supreme being. Okay, cool. But how, why, etc., etc. Do we really understand? Or even, I use the word loosely, but do we believe it? Have we accepted it? To know our value in the world. And why we're so quick to give it up. But we're not against interracial relationships on this particular, in our doctrine. The issue that we have is that the society has placed a certain set of programming, which basically means people think they're making a choice about love, but they're not. And who is the winner and loser in that situation? Because a black woman, for example, mixing with a Caucasian male, does she understand the etheric implications of that, being the strongest genetic being on the body, on the planet today? Does she understand her shape-shifting capabilities and abilities means she lowers her etheric vibration to match the partner that she's with? Now, if that's the direction that she chooses to go in for that purpose, and she's willing to give up certain things, hence the term fall in love, then fine. No problem. You make a decision, you accept the consequences. But if someone's tricking you and you don't understand, then that's not fair, is it? So therefore, you have the right, really, as your ancestors saying, well, let's put this information out there and teach it, then they can apply their will and then make a decision accordingly. It's not fair on us when subliminally there's miscegenation in TV programs, in the media, in advertising, so on and so forth, programming us. Yeah, so all throughout your life, most of your life, you're being attacked for your color of your skin, made to feel ugly for your size of your lips, the texture of your hair, so on and so forth. Setting you up. Understood? So when somebody who doesn't look like you comes and says, man, you look attractive, you look this, that. Because you've been shown love, or what they call love for the first time, then now you're in my spider web now. But then realize all throughout your life, you've been set up. Understood? To be set up for that moment, man and woman. We got them. Yeah, the spider's web on the back of the dollar bill, for those who know. We've been set up, prepped. Oh, they showed me love, so I want to show them love. They're not interested in me. Black men are not interested in me. Black women are not interested in me. It was programming. It was setting you up from young to be in that situation. To give up your genes. I'm not talking about Levi's, y'all. So the way it's been programmed, set up, so you don't know the value. So the whole thing's set up in a way where I say, whatever path I go down, they're waiting there. This is why you have to stick to the Patarak. This is why the master said, I think Howard Meheb read it out. Stay close. Stay close. Yeah, this doctrine is not here to fool you. It's here to guide you and help you. Yeah, protect you. If we accept it and embrace it for what it's supposed to be, do and be. 3, for you, Musbatu, yeah, Sabians, to know the best way to contact your relatives who link to your Salah from ancestors to Panatharu. 4, many claim to see Ka'atu, spirits of the dead. So in 3, we took you through that last week. So if you go to YouTube channel, that class is up. Yeah, quietly. Notice when we did that class, pure gremlins. Pure gremlins with the internet. Step on that subject, the stream seems to be okay, right? Food for thought, or maybe not food for thought. It's a thought. Yeah, how we've been set up. Even in the language, all that stuff is, even if you analyze your language, when we're talking about food for the gods and being set up, etc. Think about the term, think about the term well done. Someone does a good job, you say well done. I like my meat. Spider's web. Now, 4, many people claim they see Ka'atu, spirits of the dead. 5, many people claim they see disembodied beings. 6, many people claim they see ghosts. 7, many people claim they see Nasabu, relatives. 9, many people claim they see religious figures. 9, many people claim they see ancient Egyptians, Natharu. 10, many people claim they see angelic beings. 11, many people claim they see demons. 12, many people claim they see extraterrestrials. 13, most see all these according to what they fear or believe. Let that marinate for a bit. So this is what you got to be mindful of, isn't it? Say mind's eye, excuse the pun, but this is what you got to be mindful of. Is it real? Yeah. Why is that person, for example, who sees the religious vision, you see, I don't know, what do you call it, stigmata? They'll see Jesus bleeding from his hands or whatever. You understand? Some physical, maybe statue or whatever, and they see, all of a sudden they see blood emanating from the hands, from the wounds in that story. Yeah, why is it that you only see the vision, but it's always in the religion that you believe in? How come the person who's a Christian never sees, but they never saw Buddha on the road? You understand? Or so I don't know, Muhammad. How come a religious figure, I never see Muhammad if you're a Christian? How come as a Muslim, you understand, you don't see, I don't know, some iconography, Asaru from ancient Egypt? The person sees what they believe in. Let's continue. 14, if they belong to a Za'am religion, note it is always from their own faith what they experience. 15, Kasasu Christians always see what they accepted from the Old Testament. Let me see if I've... Okay, there we go. Satanists always, 16, Satanists always see what they accepted from Satanism. 17, Yoruban and Santorians always see what they accept in Yoruba. 18, Muslims and their Sufi always see what they accept in their Quran and Sunnah, Hadith, and the sayings of Islamism. 19, Israelite Hebrews, Jews will always see what they accept in their Old Testament, Torah, other Jewish records, and Talmudic traditions and other books they believe in. 20, the same for Hindus, Buddhists, Zoroastrianism, Baha'i, Rastafarians, Confucians, Native American shamans, and the same with all religions and religious beliefs. 21. And also with those that believe in extraterrestrials, they all will claim to see what they have accepted in their belief systems. 22. Many out of fear of death. 23. Many out of fear of the afterlife. 24. Many out of cinemas, books, or things they experience in this world. 25. Some even have created in the mind's eye things to see, monsters and the likes. Yeah, so you see that basically us as human beings, the creative power of the mind is very significant. Remember that you can do more, we're getting into it, but you want to do more detailed research on this, seek out a book or check out the class Reflection and Projection. Understood? Because you have to understand how the eyes work. It's just, we'll get into it. But yeah, we're not seeing outwardly, we're seeing inwardly first, and then projecting out, yeah, a three-dimensional image of the environment or interpretation of the environment that we're looking at. So of course, when you understand these details, you understand how a person's vision can be tricked or fooled. This is why in the physical realm, at least, you have optical illusions. If things are what they appear to be, if they are real, then how can you have an optical illusion? How can one thing appear to be something and it's not? So you're looking at things based on knowledge, information, so on and so forth in your brain, what you've accepted, and that's how you see things. This is why you know, for example, when we've said this before, I think, but so when you watch a movie, for example, you might have watched a movie, let's say, I don't know, let's say 15 years ago or whatever. You watched a movie. In that time, you've studied, you've learned different things or whatever, and you go and rewatch the movie, and because your knowledge has increased, certain things start jumping back out to you. You may hear words that you go, oh, because you know the meaning of them. Prior to that, your brain kind of ignored it. Or you'll see certain things, could be symbols, the way certain things are, and you'll see because your knowledge has increased. So understanding that how you perceive the world around you is affected by your knowledge, what you know, and understand how your brain works. So when somebody comes to you and says, okay, I've seen X, Y, Z, or I saw a grey in a dream, are you going to be skeptical? Well, yes, you are going to be skeptical, because it could be mind's eye. Now, it may not be, but it could be mind's eye. So before you come out running up your mouth, say, hey, I saw this, boom, 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 and the person came to me and said X, Y, Z. Are you looking out for your fellow people if you don't run your own vision, etc., through your own internal verification tests? Remember, we are all connected. Now it says the Sabian, I think it's in emotional energy, isn't it? The Sabian is analogous to the way air is the carrier of sound. So we are connected like a network. So before you go running up your mouth out into the public and influencing others, shouldn't you do your checks? Shouldn't you make sure you're not adding a virus into the network based on your belief? Why not confirm it first? Yeah, why not confirm it first before you go running up your mouth? Should I carry out a rumor? I've heard this about somebody. Should I go and share that rumor if I've not confirmed it to be fact? Am I not adding a virus into the network? If I hear something, can I share it and I haven't confirmed it to be true? Am I adding a virus into the network? Well, I didn't create it. It's not me, so I didn't say it. I just passed it on. So what responsibility do you play in the situation? Are you helping or hindering? Because strong belief Well, the power of belief, what this is saying is it can shape images in a person's head. So you need to establish, or we need to establish, not you separate to me, but we need to establish, is it real? Is what I've received real? How did it come about? Who gave it? You understand? What was the intention behind it? Etc., etc. So let's read on. Yeah, what we're being advised to do. Now, it says, some even create, 25, some even have created monsters, created in their mind's eye, things to see, monsters and the likes. 26, you see, all you hear, all you experience, all created in your mind's eye becomes real to you. 27, you store these images in your subconscious mind. 28, you are able to retrieve them at will like an undeveloped film on file in your subconscious mind. You pull them up and process them as real. 29, when they could have been a dream or an exaggeration in a dream state, or fear or trauma or terror in an awoke state. 30, something or someone frightens you and your mind's eye exaggerates it into what you think you saw or felt. 31, that is stored in the subconscious mind as a real event or thing. 32, it becomes real in your mind as time and space, a reality, when in fact you created them in your mind's eye. 33, a person may see in or with the mind's eye. 34, a vision or a dream or frightened cinema, then later see a ghost, spirit, spectre, ET, while you are awake with your eyes open. 35, your ears are clear for sound and touch, and you really think you see this thing. 36, you have processed your vision from your katal, mind. 37, for you see, in order to see, you must use your nachach, or the mag, so I think, a brain, as well as your ayanat, eyes. 38, light in the form of a shape, form, and colors enters into your ayanat, eyes. 39, the light is reflected from the object that enters the cornea of the eye. 40, there it is refracted, bent, as it goes through the baka'ah, pupil, and through the kaza, iris, or lens of the ayan, eye. 41, the refraction causes the rays of light to cross within the eye. 42, when the rays cross, the image of the objects are inverted, turned upside down, and projected off of the retina. 43, that projected light or radiant energy is then turned into chemical energy by the retina. 44, therefore light or image is reversed upside down, projected to a screen inside your head behind your eyes, connected to the nerves. 45, this image sends a message to the brain, and the brain computes what is on that screen as. 46, then reverses it upright and projects it outside back at the image of what it is as it was when you first perceived. 47, yet you feel it is as you think of it or remember it the way you feel about it. 48, if you fear a thing as a child, you may look at an unknown adult you see as a giant before you. 49, you don't remember that is recognize, so you become frightened. 50, the person may not mean you any harm, yet you created what you needed to protect your body. 51, or an animal such as a dog may look like a monster to you if you don't recognize it and saw its teeth. 52, you then store this image in your subconscious mind, in your mind's eye, he or it was a giant monster. 53, once you go to the subconscious world of dreams, you recreated this monster, part man and part dog. You have a werewolf, and now it's chasing you with great big teeth. 54, where did this come from? 55, it was stored in parts over time in your mind's eye, the subconscious world of dreams. 56, yet Musbatu, remembering how the eye actually works. 57. Once you receive an image of light, you process it, then project it back out of the eyes as an image. 58. You can do this while awake and from your own creation, from that file of undeveloped images with your own construction of them and how you want to see them. Yeah, so you're seeing here, as I say, us doing a little bit of research as guided by the master, understood, in this regard, to simply understand how our eyes work, yeah, and how it's connected to our brain, how we process images, and obviously reflection and projection, which is what that's taking place. We're reflecting, which is the inward part of the journey, and then we are projecting that image back out based on the knowledge internally in the mind. But we're seeing here how in the subconscious, how we can piece certain things together, yeah, to make it workable for the mind. So these are the characteristics of our own nature. These are the characteristics of how that subconscious mind is working. These are the characteristics of how our brain is working, understand, for a certain purpose, and how we, as I say, as that creative, as that creator internally, as I say, can piece things together that, as I say, may not or were unlikely to be actually true or real. Understand? And so this is really important for us to start understanding, as I say, the who we are, not the what business, but the who we are, and understand our own nature in this context. Any questions?
No questions.
Okay, so once you 57, once you receive an image of light, you process it and then project it back out of the eyes as an image. Yeah, that's the projection part. 58, you can do this while awake and from your own creation, from the file of undeveloped images with your own construction of them and how you want to see them. 59, then project them outward that is not even there. 60, yet it is a projection of your subconscious file of images with emotions to become what you want to see, such as your Jesus or an angel or a relative or a demon. 61, all created by you and projected from inside out, and you really think you see it. 62, this is religious spookism I speak of. 63, most created by fear of God, or you are going to be tortured in hell's fire forever once you die. 64, inner and outer visions projected outward from dreams or experiences. 65, while asleep or awoke. 66, this is what happens in most religious experiences. 67, because they don't want facts or confirmation. They walk by faith, not by sight. 68, they are willing to look yet not touch. 69, in visions or dreams or reality, you see spirits or specters. It can be real or not. 70, most of this is happening right inside of your mind's eye, inside of you. 71, it is your own experience. 72, it is real to you. 73, while most are alone when they see things or experience things. 74, even if it happens, even if it appears to be outside of your brain. 75, that is because your brain can project images back out of your eyes that seem real, because to the brain they are real, yet only you can see them. So, interestingly, remember we were talking about, I think, one of the earlier parts of this class, we were talking about the word Beatle and the Beatles, yes, the music group, the Beatles, and how in etymology that word Beatle means project, and so it ties into the Aquarian conspiracy where, you know, certain language even was changed by organisations like the Haverstock Institute in the UK and the Stanford Research Institute in the States, understood? And they altered languages, basically, which caused decay in society. Yeah, so they triggered a sort of pseudo rebellion in society, understood? Yeah, to augment a lot of chaos. Yeah, which a lot of that manifested itself in the 80s. Yeah, it's something called the Aquarian Conspiracy, book you can go away and read. But the word Beatle itself means project. So Project we talk about, I suppose, in project management as a temporary. Do you know what I mean? Temporary, about using the word, but temporary set of actions to introduce a new business process, for example. Understand? Or somebody will say a project. We've got to work on this project because maybe they're trying to implement, I don't know, build something. It could be, as I say, a new process, procedure, whatever the case may be. But listen now again that the word project is also project, as in shortened from projection. So there's a lot of tricky words, of double meaning that you need to pay attention to. So yes, the Beatles thing was a project that caused us to change our projection, change the way we interpreted things. And so this is what, we need to step back as a people almost and see and analyze and see certain things, not just see it for the sensationalism. Oh, that's technology, or that's boom, 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 boom. Yeah, step back, the cause and effect, and let's see what's going on, and then find out how we protect ourselves from it accordingly. But read with an open mind, but we also now, because we understand what's these outside influences, we need to read also with a controlled mind. Now, it says here, now this can be done by 27 spirits inside of you. I say 27, not 30, so this is your 4 generational ancestors, yes? Not 30 because minus you, 1 less is 29. If your parents are still alive in this physical world, that is minus 2 from the 30. So that's your pyramid, yeah? I haven't got an image. Maybe she'll put a diagram, but you've seen it before. Put you at the top of the pyramid for those who don't understand this for the first time. And then remember, as they build a pyramid, your mum and dad is on row 2, row 3, your mum and dad on your father's side, mum and dad on your mum's side, and so forth. All the way down to 4 generations makes up the 30. You are at the top of that pyramid, so you're the 30th. But as it's expressing here, if your parents are alive, then that reduces, you understand? In terms of their influencing factors, because your parents are influencing you, obviously, influencing externally, and basically what they've said to you throughout your life, etc., can influence you in that regard. But this is talking about the influence of your ancestors in your bloodstream, because they're part of your DNA and RNA, how if you're not minded, their thoughts, you think, are their thoughts and their desires and their things that they want to do, because it's inside of you and nobody taught you about the nature of who and what you are, then you can interpret those thoughts and feelings, etc., as your own. This is what's going on to explain. So 80, yeah, they can affect your thinking. So if you accept, remember these words, acceptance and all that, if you accept what is presented to you, and certain times it's from inside of you, yes, then it can affect you. Yes, if you accept it. Yeah? And a lot of times we do out of ignorance. We thought those thoughts were our own, but it wasn't. You understand? So now we're getting to understand the nature of who we are. 80, they can affect your thinking, your moods, your health, your actions, your dreams, your visions. 81, spirit or spirits within at work. 82, evil or good beings who once lived in the flesh. 83, many wish to use your flesh to please their own emotions loss. 84, it can be deception or guidance. 85, yet they don't come from out of this dimension. 86, they are here, many trapped here by their lust of this world. 87, so once they die, they are trapped here, yet can't feel. It is a form of hell to them. 88, so they seek to use others' bodies. 89, the easiest way is when a person is intoxicated, drugged, drunk with strong emotions of anger, jealousy, hating, and lusting. 90, these emotions open this dimension to the underworld of this same dimension. We went through this, I think, I can't remember if it was last week or the week before. Yeah, we were showing you the SMAT circle with the 9 on top, isn't it? 6, and then the 3 at the bottom. And then the Lucifer or the Lu, primitive cipher, obviously circle, the lower cipher, you understand, that goes from 3 to 2 to 1 to 0, non-carnal. And we're showing you that diagram of how human beings, by their desires, pull or provide a gateway or open up a gateway between the two worlds, because you're now opening yourself up, yes, to become a wanted, because you sought a desire, you understand? And that's opened up you up now to a force or source to fulfill that desire. You understand? So this is what is being touched upon here. Remember, in our Partak Yud, you understand? Let's go back. Our Partak Yud. What do we do here? Yeah? Are we not closing the loop? I can be all that I want in the all expanding, as long as my want is to stay in the all expanding. Isn't that closing that loop? Yeah, that we were talking about in what we're reading about in Mind's Eye, and what we were talking about in the previous sessions out of ontologies, I think, wiping ontologies of time. Isn't that closing the loop of want and desire? So you can think about how long it takes to get to perfect that, so that you're not subject to outside influence. Note even that the word want was changed from wish. We say wish before. Yeah, that words like hope and wish are 6 ether, because of that opening. Very hard to take them out of the vocabulary. I suppose not if we were speaking Sabat, but very hard in English to take them out of the vocabulary. Hope. But is hope directed request, or is it an open request? They would say, I hope. Yeah, so can anything come and then fulfill that request if we're not careful about where we're directing that energy to? And so we can find back where we were now, because it's a bit mind's eye. Okay, here we go. So 91, excuse me. So the 9 lower gates and people in those states have walk-ins. Let's go back up. 89. The easiest way is when a person is intoxicated, drugged, drunk, with strong emotions of anger, jealousy, hating, and lusting. 90. These emotions open up this dimension to the underworld of this same dimension. 91. The 9 lower gates and people in those states have walk-ins and become possessed. 92. Do things in those states they would never have done if their conscious mind was not subdued by intoxicants or a rush of emotions. 93. Another is outside persuasion, as in to join a group or like a uniform, a military, police force, law enforcement, and you are persuaded to kill for them. 94. So you can come under this effect. Sleep or awake, you can lose self-control by persuasion or possession. 95. It's all affecting your inner being by forces other than yourself. 96. This is why Wu-Sabat teaches you to know your own voice, your own tone from those of your ancestors, to prevent whispers from whispering to you suggestions. 97. Things you would never have done, you did because of these emotions of suggestions from 27 spirits inside or evil people outside who use others to do their evil, like governments. 98. They use pleasures such as pornography. 99. The effect it has in transforming one's mind and the effect on their physical body to react. 100. The same thing happens in persuasion, by inside and outside visions, such as how a commercial makes you want to spend money you don't have by watching others who seem to be having fun or pleasures makes you want the same. 101. You go to them or where they gather for this. 102. It may not be safe or healthy, yet you begin to partake of that hajam dimension or tapal world of whatever. 103. It affects your ba'ah soul and your khatat body. 104. You see an attractive person, they're attracted to you. You don't see them inside only, the outside attracted to you into their world. 105. This can be a so-called friend who says, let's go there. 106. Let's try this. Here, take this or drink this, smoke this. 107. You are affected for life by that one act. 108. So this happens both inside of you and outside of you. 109. Your good Nasabi relatives and Salafu ancestors only wish to help you. 110. That is the voice that says don't go. 111. Don't do this or that. 112. Stay away from him or her. 113. Then physical desires take over your divine being and you submit to your pleasures. 114. Or you are stronger-willed and say no, I pass, not me. 115. That is our inner powers at work. So we've been given a lot of mythology around that, angels and, you understand, on one shoulder telling you good and bad. This is showing you the reality of what it is. You understand? Not what the myth and legends are taught by religion, etc. And showing you, because of who and what we are, or understand at least how the nature of what we are, these are the, I'm not going to say pitfalls, but these are the challenges of being a soul incarnate into the physical. Understood? You have internal and external influencing factors, as well as having invisible and visible adverse forces that you need to also be cognizant of. Any questions?
No questions.
Okay, 115. Yet it all originates right here or within you. 117. Some people look outside only or at other worlds they read about or made up, taught by the very evil ones who teach all the lies by their religions. At 118. There is no power greater than you. For all things move about you because you are the center of your universe and because of your connection to the sun. If you no longer existed on the planet, all the planets would be pulled into the sun and cause a star holocaust due to the balancement you bring to the solar system. So understand that basically, remember, we have a central sun in the planet, for example. Yes, and then we have the sun which gave birth to the solar system between 93 and 91 million miles away. And then you have a central sun overstood inside of you, referred to as your solar plexus. So there is a balancement that we bring to the table because obviously, remember, we have forces obviously which are seeking to draw us in to the sun's like gravitational pull or attraction, force of attraction, which is the planets seeking to be pulled into the sun, but also them seeking to break away from the sun's gravitational pull, understood? And so they're perfectly balanced in their orbit. Obviously, a significant change in that can cause that star holocaust. This is all the planets being drawn into the sun. So we play a significant role in that, which is why a Nagaru or a Nagaru people must be here to play that role. Hence why, no matter what they've tried to done to extinguish you, we've still been able to survive. Yeah, but we must take control of our fate, not a given, you understand, when you've got so many forces there trying to take us out. Yeah, but they can't do the same job as we do because they don't have the soul force that we do. Now, due to the balance you bring to the solar system, 119, all else is unrealistic, unfounded, that is unreasonable, a result of ignorance and religious superstitions. superstitions found in their Bibles and Qurans on spookism. 120, faith, beliefs, fictions, myths, illusions, lies of the liar, Celtic Wiccans of Druids and their undercover, witchcraft and sorcery. We know that religion is a watered down version of these Celtic traditions, ways and methods. Is that a watered down version? 122, at least monotheistic religion, I should say. 121, the result of their religions is a feeling of emptiness. Lack of answers that pervades the brain and the mind's eye makes you a believer. 122, this does and can affect what you think, feel and see. 123, it comes from your need to know before you die, to know why and to know why and how and where. 124, that constitutes your inner need to really understand existence now and forever. 125, and this affects proper care of your mental state of katal mind and affects your physical health. 126, how you see this world from your eyes to your mind and memory. 127, so the kind of imaginary fictions and fears taught to you affects your whole life. 128, when you accept a God concept yet don't stop to question the logic of it, is it logical that a God deity asks his creation to kill for him? 129, asks his creation to obey him only. 130, asks his creation to steal from others for him. 131, asks his creation to offer things to him or them. 132, a God who claims to have all power over all things and persons and animals, yet he will judge. 133, why would he have to judge what he already knows? 134, why let his creation go bad, do evil, hate, fight, war, lie, or steal? If he controls all things, then he can change sins to good. 135, the way for evil, the way evil to wawe, good, and mudwa'u, devils, to good angels in the blink of an eye. Why doesn't he or they? 136, where is your logic in this matter as you fight over which race was Jesus, Yeshua, or Isa? This is what we've been talking about, understand, and why it's important, as say, to read over this guidance. Read out the guidance, obviously, as in Partarak, to refrain, because none of this stuff, as I say, was designed for us, but it was designed to capture a person's mind and have it within certain bounds of control. So do not underestimate the power and effect of the Bible, the Quran, and these various different books, Torah, so on and so forth. This is why, at least at one time, I don't know if it still is, but the Bible was the most popular book on the planet. Yeah, and how we have internalized that. Yeah, and that is why we get the environment that we get, because it's a manifestation of our thinking, programmed to us through books like the Bible. Yeah, ask yourself when you first learn, if you're a person who grew up in religion, ask yourself when you first learned about murder, jealousy, rape, taking things from others. Let's continue. So, first find out, did the form of Jesus ever exist or Abraham? 138, you don't even know if they really existed. How many wars have happened because of this thinking and mindset, even that take place today? Religious wars, things that are going on in the world right now, terrorism, all these type of things based on belief systems where human beings have not even proven that the individuals concerned ever even walked the earth. Naming a thing doesn't make it real either. Where are the bones? 138, you don't even know if they really existed. 139, their bones have not been found to date. 140, in fact, every year near the Christmas holiday, there is a new discovery about Jesus. 141. The latest is the discovery of a Coptic fragment that Jesus says, "My wife." 142. Yeah, John, the wedding in Cana. Yeah, look that up. John chapter 2, excuse me, wedding in Cana. 142. However, who is that person really? 143. Who is this Jesus? Jesus is not Coptic or a Coptic name. Who is Jesus? Excuse me. Jesus is not Coptic or a Coptic name. 144. You see, they keep the character and create a new story around the character in an attempt to give him authenticity. 145. You claim them as to which race they were. Is this logical when you have not proven a Jesus ever existed? 146. You are being persuaded to fight a fruitless fight of their fictions and myths and legends and lies. 147. The same is with all other lies in their Bibles, Quran, monsters, demons, devils, dragons, fish people, unicorns, half goat, half man, giant, and the list is long from their God. Yeah, because these are all many of the characters or the creatures that we're seeing in the book, which they say is from the Word of God. So the question is, why is God using allegedly mythological creatures then to make descriptions of things? We've never analysed or put it to the people of those religions. Okay, so cool. Do dragons exist? Do snakes talk? It's a simple question. You said it was a talking snake. Do snakes talk? And what version of snake was this? And why does it no longer exist now? These things they won't explain. But yet you are being expected to put your soul, bet your soul in this place that when you now transition to the other side, that all what you put your emotional energy into in the various different rituals for these religions is going to pay off when you die. Big gamble. Very big gamble to play with your soul. The only one you have. 148. You choose to avoid Wu-Sabat, facts for fictions. Fate you replace with facts for fictions. Fate you replace with faith. Foolishness, nonsense in place of truth. 149. Wu-Sabat is here to eliminate the lies of the liars. 150. It's the nonsense of religions of the Celtic, Salalu races. That is another imaginary fallacy in the minds. Nagaru Salau, Negroid race, African people. Yeah, particularly in the UK, remember, they'll jump up and down and say St. George's Day, yeah, and throw up the English flag and all this kind of stuff. Oh, St. George allegedly killed a dragon. Is this real? Is this true? Is it real? This is the thing. Is it real? We're running about. We've accepted mythology and lies and fiction, and they're giving it a breath of life in this particular world. We're giving it life in this world because that's the nature of the people that is behind it. Because we are bred for facts, bred for reality. Yeah, that's why maybe that's why when they put us in movies, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, when it's a white male in a particular show, whatever, or movie, they can do the impossible. As soon as you put somebody else of another race in that same movie, it's not realistic. They start screaming, it's not realistic. That would never happen in that time. Watch a John Wick. Rewatch John Wick again with your three eyes open. As I say. They make it seem you get shot with a gun, you know what I mean? Take a shot of whiskey, pour it on the wound, and then you can pull it out with some scissors or pliers or something like that. And they keep going on. You know, I think the reality in our community is a bit different. You know, we start looking at knife crime and gun violence and different things. I think it's a bit different. 151. You see people You see open people such as Nagaru Negroids or trusting people seem to love. Listen. You see open people such as Nagaru Negroids or trusting people seem to love and prefer lies, mythology, fictions, spookism, and mystery over reality, and confirmations over truth, things they can touch. You see, Parnathar is pointing out our nature here. The what over the who. What we have become. Let's not front, people. Let's not front on ourselves. I'm not being a downer. Let's not front. We're going to face reality. We like gossip. We like the myths. We share lies. We don't guard against those things. Enough. We must change. We must change, people. We must change. If we want a different outcome for our people. And it starts with the small things. It starts with you as an individual. For the whole to change. Stop looking outside for somebody else. Yes, we can hold each other accountable, of course. But individually, we must change. If we want things to change, because that's what we can control. So, 151, let's read it again. You see open people, yes? We're etheric and we're physical. Yes? We have melanin, vibrates all the way up the full spectrum. Yeah, so we're very efficient and supreme receivers of all different types of energy. So we must guard against and filter what's coming in. You see open people such as Nagaru, Negroids, or trusting people seem to love and prefer lies, mythology, fiction, spookism, and mystery over reality and confirmations, over truth, things they can touch. 151, they seem to love myths such as what the Bible and Quranic religions teach, and many others, be they in books, cinemas, TV, or religion. 153, the spookier the better, the more supernatural, the more mysterious, mysticism, mystified, the more Nagaru Negroids seem to attract it over reality and things that reason out. 154, myths, as in mystical religions, have a way of fascinating Nagaru Negroids. 155, that's how they keep getting spellbound year after year as the master deceiver comes up with more tricks and cinemas. You see, so our nature of us is being pointed out. Even though reality is far more fascinating than myth and lies. It's just never, the society doesn't focus on it, so we never focused on it until now. And I say now, the masters now, or our now, when he started teaching and starting to introduce us to the wonder of nature, or natural nature, and our role in that. Okay, we'll just finish off this one and we'll close out. But then here now. So, keep getting spellbound year after year as the master deceiver comes up with more tricks and cinemas. 156. Now horror films are viewed in three-dimensional TV, surround sound, deception of the devil to work on your mind to feed off of your fears. 157. They also need you to raise your vibrational level for them to pass on to different dimensions using you to reach here. They cannot because of their frequency is different from ours. Listen to this. We said this in a previous class, didn't we? Yeah, we showed you, remember that example in the film of The Matrix. He jumped from the digital world into the physical by housing a physical being on that ship, if you remember the first movie. And the person called pure chaos. Murder, killing people because they had the opportunity now to jump into the physical. So you have to understand, basically, because you vibrate, or we vibrate across the whole spectrum, you can be used to bring the devil into these peaceful environments. Which is why I've explained to you why the Pharaoh cut off that connection to their children. And they collapsed that sun in the Sirius star constellation. They collapsed that etheric connection. So hence why we have a step up, or various different steps, pathway of ascension. We're not connected to them directly like that. And as you have read in these doctrine, these books, they never descend down past the fourth dimension. I want to get caught up in the physical. The fourth dimension is the mental. Hence, incarnating, they're birthing through the womb of the woman, and they have to reprogram, obviously, the body to make it fit, or at least sustain his whole life being. And it has issues, it has challenges, even then, physically on the person's body. Hence why it was limited to a certain period of time. For what we've become now, at least, in the sound as the genes have tumbled forward, we're not the same, purity of genetics and body like we were as the Sands people. 153. 158. So they're constantly pumping their image, their voices, their tones to cause you to shift. So you will not be able to make the dimensional shift, as they will not, because they have downgraded their own DNA by mixing with animals. So you understand, in the dimensional shift happened every 24,000 years, the planet itself shifts or upgrades itself. It has its own ascension journey. Understood? So the next ascension will only house beings of 7, 8, and 9 ether energies. The planet's getting rid of all of its adverse forces or negativity. Understand? 7, 8, and 9 ether are higher states of vibrational energy not yet experienced by human beings on this planet. Understood? But because of who we are, we have come from the source of all of that. We have the ability to vibrate up. Understood? And so getting you to be out of tune or tuned out is one of their whole goals and purposes. So there's something called a phylogenetic tree that they speak about in Dimensional Shift, or the Master speaks about in Dimensional Shift, which basically connects all of the different, not just races on the planet, but all species. It shows the kind of growth path of how the different genes, they use the word evolve, or grown, and how they are connected, how different species on the planet are connected. Understood? And they took themselves off. So as the planet shifts, technically speaking, everything on it that's aligned with this new vibration will shift up to those 7, 8, and 9 ether dimensions as it shifts up. Understood? That which is not connected to it will then dissipate and vaporize into nothingness. And so the Caucasians, who are part of those original, at least now, in the sense of the 3 remaining out of the original 24 root races, took themselves off of the phylogenetic tree when they mixed in their DNA of animals. So the Arnold Schwarzenegger, having a pig heart transplanted into a human heart, this was against the natural rules of the environment, and so caused them to be taken off of, among other things, but took them off of that phylogenetic tree. So you have to be mindful in this society as well, how they're causing us to do those same things. So that we inherit their fate. They have hate for us, hate to inherit their fate. So we have to be mindful and careful. Not everything they push out there is for our betterment. 159. Yet you, Sapiens, are awoke now. You see the games being played on the minds of your race. Hey. 160. Yet it's very hard to wake up the dead. You were only asleep. Most of them are dead. 161. You had enough insight, inner vision, intelligent, or some of those 27 telling you inside, wake up. The time has come. Parman Far, the warner has incarnated. 162. You heard my voice and knew that it is the warner. So you are escaping the spell of ignorance or sleep. Parnawan. 163. By way of Wu-Sabat, our way of life, you are facing the facts, the real world. 164. The dead follow the dead. The living follow those who are alive. 165. You are alive. Use your mind. 166. You are no longer seeking to be unrealistic. Your idols are of your own. Your models of your own. 167. Your idea of worship is in your own image. 168. Your morals are guided by your own holy scripture. This power to act the way revealed to you for you. 169. You gave up impractical, out of reach goals laid out for Caucasoids, not your race. Things you can accomplish as a African. 170. They created false hopes. You have a real way of life, a culture. 171, excuse me. You come from the best and richest part of this planet Earth, Africa, as an African. 172. You were misplaced, so it seems you were nothing and no one until Wu-Sabat found you asleep, and you woke to what to what and who you really are as gods of all other Salalu races. 173. No more mental frustrations and physical depression. You are the owners of this planet and should enjoy the best things it offers you. So we're not poor righteous teachers. Yeah, you're not meant to be poor righteous teachers. Yeah, you are blessed and born on the richest part of the planet with all the expensive gold minerals they consider to have value in this society under our feet. So we were never intended to be poor. Yeah, so which religion makes us feel, okay, well, you're poor in this world, so you'll get it in the next one. No, that's not what nature intended. It gave us the very best. Others interfered with that, overstood, and now it feels like, it can feel like, yeah, we even feel guilty for having wealth or riches or things of that nature, you understand, or even attaining them. Someone put some guilt in us that is, you see, with certain schools, that they sought to try and have to rid that from you, to say, yes, you're deserving of this. Yes, you are entitled to this, etc., because of the forces that depressed and made us feel like the lowest of the low. 174. All you need to do is accept Wu-Sabat. Musbatu, yeah? Speak Misbatia, yeah? Sabaik. Live by Partarai. That is your reality. 175. Use your own powers. Fear no one or nothing. Protect our own. Forgive none who hurt us. Forget nothing they did to us. It is our turn to rule. Listen. We said this before. There's no turn the other cheek. Certain times you have to direct your ancestors towards your enemies. That's why they're growing. That's why they keep having power. That's why they keep killing. Because we never put our energy on the real force and say, hey, protect the sea, protect the line. Grandmother, that great-grandmother, that woman at work is making my life hell. But she won't stop giving me headache and hassle. She was in for me from day one. Please, deal with her. If we have to be in those environments, because ultimately they're going to say, well, you shouldn't be there. You know how it is. Yeah, we're there out of certain times, out of necessity, working our way out. Not forgive and forget. Remember, he showed you that before in that class about natural justice. Remember that? I think it was a case. Remember the policewoman killed the guy or whatever, went into his flat or whatever and shot him. They killed him in his own flat. She thought she was getting to her flat allegedly and shot and killed this Nagaru male. And you see the brothers and the mum hugging her. I mean, if you want to forgive the killer of your son, that's up to you. You understand? I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. I'm saying there's something inside us that made us feel that we had to do it. She was even worthy of that. Don't let them trick you. Forgiveness don't mean what they say it means. It does not mean turn the other cheek. I mean, some may, if they had the strength to do that, forgive their own, because that's them in one gaze or shape or form. The ancestors don't say that. They don't say that. So you don't have to feel that that must be the case. You understand? Because let me tell you something. They don't give a damn when it's you on the other end of that. If you was on the other end of that crime, you get none of that kind of what do you call it, compassion for any situation. Really, he knew what he or she, they knew what they was doing. You could be 15, 14, 13, 12. They knew what they was doing. Try them as an adult. You get none of that compassion. But the trick of these monotheistic religions makes you feel when it's on the other side, okay, well, we got to think about them, think about their concerns, their needs, so on and so forth. And they get that compassion from us. It does not go in reverse. So listen to the mindset of the planetary, and us as their children. It says 147, all you need to do is accept Wu-Sabat as Musbatu, Sabians, and speak Misbatia, Sabaik, live by Partarak. That is your reality. 175, use your own powers, fear no one or nothing, protect your own, forgive none who hurt us, forgive nothing they did to us, it is our turn to rule. 176, we will not forget. 177, we will not forgive. 178, that is the way of nature, that is our way. 179, no more poor, miserable conditions for our race that affects our lives and families. 180, no more begging of others, we do for self and kind. 181, this means from 2000 AD, you see how far we're behind. We as Salau must learn to use our powers and resources to solve our own problems. 182, and stop looking to other races and their spirits to save our race, Negroids. 183, seeking their apparitions they placed in our mind's eye over the past 6,000 years. 184, their ghost, holy or unholy, phantom, spook, specters. 185, their dead spirit beings, 6 ether, they will not and cannot help you. 186, you have your own, seek your own. 187, our spirit beings are already among us and have been all the time. 188, you just rejected them for Kakasu or Mukasu, Caucasoids or Morabu or Arabu, Arabs, spook gods, ghost. 189, Musbatu is plural beings, Wunupu, Asanupu, and Nabanupu, males and females. 190, not their god. In fact, their god is from German Gotya, and means good ghost or holy ghost, holy spirit. 191, it's still ghosthood. What is good ghost for them, we see as evil. They go to church, pray to their good God, then go out and kill other races. That's their good God or holy ghost and Gad. 192, so they use this word God to hide their evil actions world over. 193, now he is in other languages, Yahweh, Yahwehim, Jah, El, Elohim, El Shaddai, Ilium, El, Rab, Allah, Alihat, Anu, Ilil, our God, Lord, Christ, Messiah, and angels, and the list goes on and on. 194, you name it, they call it that. It's ghosthood. 185, they put them inside your mind over the years, and now you can project them out and think they are real. 196, now it's time to make real contact with your real relatives, linked to your ancestors, linked to Parnatharu. 197, without any interference from their evil 6 ether specters or your own evil relatives or who they exchange their DNA with during their lifetimes, that's over 27 by far. 198, you must learn to reach the good without interference by any beings. 199, and to know when you are projecting images from your subconscious mind through your mind's eye and your imagination is at work because of their fictions, myths, and legends. 200. Only Wu-Sabat will put you on the right track. 201. All existing beings exist in the same state if they relate to each other. 202. All spirits on the same state and in the same space or a part of space. 203. Space can exist without form because it has existence. It, as such, can be without form as nothingness yet exists. 204. Before hydrogen became something or some other thing. 205. So existence was before form, as you know, material, be it atoms or cells, atoms. Yeah, so the world of things, remember things versus some things. Remember SUM dot thing, not SOME dot thing. Some things that sum up to something can be weighed versus things that don't have any atomic weight as they classify, but still exist. Is existence before creation. So, and being it could 207, and being it could exist before material things as nothing. Material things would never have had to be. It was a choice made by pre-material. Interesting. So before you have that matter where things sum up to something, hydrogen obviously, or H1, being that first point of existence, we are learning about the cause and effect. So energy, understood, was created by basic energy, understood. So you had, as I say, no movement out of stillness, understood. And so here it's talking about, okay, we're out of this nothingness or state of things or world of things. Obviously, matter itself, as we see it in the physical, had a previous stage called pre-matter or pre-material, which gave birth to matter. Understand? But still exists. It has not been detectable by what you would classify as physical things, because obviously it is before hydrogen. Yeah, so these things don't just pop up and manifest somewhere. They have an origin, so to speak. You understand? Obviously, some have taken that and categorized that and said, well, that's Allah or God or this, that, etc., so on and so on and so on and third. But even their God or Allah was in the physical, wasn't it? You understand? Yeah, they had a throne that they sat on. So if you had a throne that you sat on, then you must have had a bum, legs. Understood? They walked in the garden. Yeah, so they wasn't on that other side, so to speak, operating on this side. They were on this side. So if there's 209, 208, let's start from there. So a form of consciousness without physical form. 209, an eternal form in an eternal space and conscious. 210, so if there is no consciousness that exists as an external form of existence, there will be no physical material existence. Yeah, so conscious and conscience gases. So we're understanding intelligent life forms as energy in an energy state. They're responsible for what we call in physical existence. Yeah, intelligent divine design, or I think what's it called? Or the other part of it, but aliens. So you'll basically learn about pre-existence and how things came around. But existence, i.e. Pa'ut, prior to creation. Remember, creation is growth, really, in its understanding, and it started from a point of origin as, say, stillness, an energy state, as they say. Some say hard to conceive because it doesn't impart motion or any force. Understood? So you're learning about the world of things that's been pointed to you out of the world of things, as they controlled, as we see in here now, will come up to about Ethereans. Now, 211, So life does exist after physical death and can exist beyond the physical wakat time. 212. So Achahu, Ethereans or Etheric beings don't live by your time. 213. So past, present, and future is the same, and etheric existences. 214. And since etheric beings have their own space, they are not restricted to any one place or any moment. 215. Not trapped by place or person or thing. nouns. 216, and such can be a place, a person, or even a thing, such as statue, a person, body, or be trapped in place. 217, that is after a person dies, he, she, or he is not linked to their own etheric ancestors. They can be trapped and will experience a form of hell over and over. 218, to repeat the act of their death over and over at exact same time in this physical space and time and material world. 219, this is the important part. Those linked to their ancestors, a chachu, etheric being, cannot be trapped once they stop breathing. 220, their etheric relatives linked to them come for them, being attracted by their etheric code opened up by chanting, prayer, and rituals. 221, this cannot change or be changed because it is nothingness. 222, yet it can give birth and transform into something, as does ether 1 to hydrogen 1 onto helium 2. 223, it's done by emotions to movement or energy in motion, the unmovable moved. Once it becomes atomic energy, a new kind of existence. So you understand the importance of connecting now, while you are in the physical, and how we prepare ourselves to really live in the sun, in that eternal darkness, and not be fooled by this world of light. So you're preparing for that inevitability, because you certainly should have done enough study to confirm what is taking place next. And that means studying life forms and characteristics of different atoms, etc., science outside of oneself, to see what I can place my trust in. By achieving, walking that journey, and as I say, seeking that confirmation that it's real, and then obviously put my energy behind that firm decision. So 224, so it facilitates movement, as does ghost as gas or ether in all materials. 225, and in that state can attract germs to form cells and organisms to become physical or incarnate into physical form from etheric form. 226, because actual space itself cannot move, yet detects any movement within space first as vibration, then shadow figures, then spirit form you see as ghost. 227, a finite universe of space is also expanse and can internally expand to become universe finite out of infinite existence. Out exists as. 228, this is all, everything and nothing, and think that exists within it. 229, true space is nu, or nuntat, as anun. 230, space is also the way of being absolute. In positive, represents the material perfection atom of beings and things in nature as Natharu. 231, absolute space is positive before negative existed. 231, out of Kathar Makwanat, multiverse is born each Rahul Makwam universe, movement of the unmovable. So we was explaining this. Remember, again, understand this matrix on this stuff may be a little bit confusing, but stillness. So motion out of stillness. Motion out of stillness. Or vibration being birthed out of this state that always existed. It wasn't birthed. It always has been here. That's why I say all is. You cannot define it. You cannot define it, limit it, or put it into something. It's always been here. It's always existed. This or these energies, so to speak. Understand? Before movement, and considered positive. Now, out of Kathar Makwamat, multiverse is born. Wahu Makwam, universe, movement, unmovable. 233, it is supreme balancement. Blackness, and blackness is only perfect, being atom and absolute state. 234, Haman black is not in fact is in fact not a color. It is a condition, a state of nature. 235. All colors were born out of blackness. The wine color is an adjective and is agitate blackness to become a mode of blackness, an agitated thing, or hydrogen to become helium. So by friction, the sun is born Atun. 236. And its secret is hidden in its nature as energy. Hydrogen 1 to become helium 2. The secret of creation in that act, the hidden nature of Amun. 237. Amun is spent energies as sound and thought. Anun to tum, to atum, to atun, to amun. Understood? So there is obviously expressing to us here the how again those 4 suns are being used in a symbolic way to explain, as I say, growth in terms of us individually, as we I think was touched upon last week, in terms of those stages, us individually walking through a life journey in the physical, but it's the same sort of system as the growth within existence, in the sand, and how those rules of existence, remember, the rules of existence are what? Being, becoming, became. That is the rules of existence of things. To be, being, becoming, became. Understood? And how this process, as I say, goes through these various different growth stages well before it manifests itself into what we are describing as the physical, to become detectable in physical or material space, material matter, obviously is matter, and time ever present. Space, matter, and time always there. So 238. So light, friction, chaos out of supreme balance from blackness. 239, where physical light is absent, so evil is absent. For light, white light is evil. 240, light hides inside of darkness as colors hide inside of black until friction brings about a spark of evil light. 241, all this is recorded in your mind's eye. 241, you were there, which is here, when it all happened to happen. 243, so you listen from the darkness when they, Harabu Cherubim, was asked, let there, in the direction, let there be light. And it was a good ghost. So not us. Yeah, it was a good ghost. Yeah, as you see in their Bible, Revelation chapter 3, verse 40. Any questions?
Yes. First of all, we have another request to post the link for last week's class. Secondly, a question from Nababtat asked, can you dream something before it happens? If so, where does the information originate?
It's an interesting question. Of course you can do, because what you got to realize, when your physical body shuts down, remember the etheric aspect of you is expanding. Yes, so you think about your structure. They say sleep is a sister to death, correct? So, and certain people can experience in what they call sleep paralysis, where the physical body and the etheric aspect, spiritual aspects of themselves are not back aligned, basically, and so the person's awake, alert, etc. They haven't repersonified inside their body, so they can't control their body consciously. They get stuck between the two until adrenaline is produced to help repersonify you. So a person, yes, is expanding, remember, outside of their physical structure, because the physical body is shut down. So they're existing as energy, as an etheric being, do you understand? In that mind or mental state, which is real. Yeah, physical atoms and its corresponding etheric counterparts are real. Dreams are made up of the same, or thoughts are physical. They're made up of the same material things. So if obviously you expand out, because it's not really past, present, and future, it's all now. So if a person expands out, they may encounter scenarios or situations that they have experienced or ethically, as opposed to, but their physical structure or body has not reached that scenario or situation as of yet. To say, can you dream things before they happen? Well, you'd have to, what you have to do as an individual, you have to look at the influences of those dreams, because dreams can basically be a form of excretion. So to stop the brain, which has the brain itself, which is different to the mind, it's linked to the mind, but it obviously has a certain amount of memory, understand, like a computer. So it can, although obviously its capacity for retaining memories or data or whatever, or information, because it uses holographic memory, is far superior to any computer or whatever, certainly at this time, that man could think about using. However, it can become full. So it will do a brain dump or a data dump, so to speak, of information to get rid of it, understood, that's not useful, reasonable, and at certain times it will, as we read about earlier, it will join things together so that it can get rid of it, understood? So you have to basically look sometimes when you're dreaming, you have to look at the influencing factors maybe up to 72 hours beforehand to look, okay, did that come from a TV program I was watching, or certain things that may be going on in your life, to see whether or not that it came from that situation. That's what triggered it. So only you're going to know that. You have to do that analysis. Now, if you rule out certain influencing factors, then, as I say, you may look and see, maybe that was a vision, or somebody was, because sometimes that's ancestors can communicate to you, because you may not be able to. We haven't learned how to physically incarnate spiritual beings the way we do physical things. So dream might be one mode of communication used by an ancestor to communicate a certain message, or equally, if it's something that you say that you are thinking about doing or perceiving, that may be your own fear coming through and manifesting itself in that way to guide you, because you're confused about a certain path or direction that you need to go to. So this is why you have to do a lot of, I suppose, paying attention. You have to almost play yourself, like you play the part of the director, and you are like the actor directing the individual in a movie. So you have to almost watch yourself, almost in a sense, to understand what are the influencing factors, what is going on, and then how to interpret those dreams or messages. Now, certainly a lot of women tend to be more aware, have that inner awareness, that quick perception of truth, call it intuition, and that's a natural one of our senses, you understand, out of our 5 added the 4 spiritual ones that they use. So with anything like that, you have to interpret, you have to look at it, and you have to say, yes, you can perceive what you consider to be the future, because it's all now, you understand? It's all blended into one. It's all now. So if you say equally expand and experience a situation before you've arrived there physically, yes, that can happen. Any other questions?
Yes. It says here, this is from Atifet. I assume he said the Moderna is not safe for us. I accidentally dozed off. I'm so upset. I missed him answering my question. I assume none of their vaccines are safe for us, as I always knew. If you could just clarify that again for me.
Oh, no, I'm sorry to disappoint you. So, no, I'm not saying it. What I'm saying to you, if you have to take one, that would be the one to take and ignore all of the others. Yeah, so if you're in and around them, that's what we were sort of going to a very lengthy breakdown, I think. But basically, that is the one they designed for themselves. If you understand that the virus itself is targeted to remove hybrids from the planet Earth, if we're in and around them, then, as I say, you have to take one, doing obviously all of the research on your own anatomy, how that is likely to affect your own physical structure, then you may have to take, if you're going to choose one and make that choice, then you would choose the Moderna out of all the others. Johnson & Johnson has a history of, producing products that have not been favourable for black people. So avoid that one, and certainly the others. You understand? That's not the advice that's been given. So if you had to choose one, then the Moderna is the one to choose. You have to understand as well that our genes have been scrambled. So we're not the pure seed that we once were. It's not saying that our immune systems are not working and not functioning, but you have to understand there's I suppose plans going on, like for example malaria. You wouldn't necessarily just go into a situation if you, for example, you're going back to Africa, you wouldn't go into a situation not protecting yourself from malaria if you didn't born and grow there and so on and so forth. So this virus is engineered. It's not a naturally occurring virus in that regard. So the way it's going to target certain people, certain individuals, then some form of medical technology is useful to combat it, and this is the advice that's being given. You understand? If it was naturally occurring, it's different, maybe a different type of reaction, but it's not a naturally occurring virus. It is an engineered virus designed to take out certain human beings. So if you have those genes or you're in contact with those people, then it may be best for you, that's the advice being given, to protect yourself from that risk. Understood. Any other questions?
Yes. What book are you reading from?
This one in particular is called The Mind's Eye. Partarak, The Mind's Eye.
Okay. We have another question from Celtic. Can you please expand on what is really meant by repeat the act of death over and over at the exact same time in this physical space?
Okay, just give me just 1 second. At the same time, which is difficult. Just bear with me 1 second. Right. The link's in class there. There you go. Right. So what that's talking about, let's find where we were. That's talking about being trapped, you understand, locked in, because this is the issue. If you're not prepared, if you don't make the link between you and your ancestors now whilst you're in the physical, I can't remember, one of the previous classes, we got into that in some detail. So I have a part 4 of this or part 3. So it's showing you basically that if you don't prepare, remember when you're making that transition, and people talk about the white light and different types of things of that nature, yeah, there are forces there. You have to pass through 9 gates. And if you've made the connection to your ancestors, remember, there's different beings, different dimensions that are seeking to attract you to their particular dimension so they can take control and use of an individual soul. So you have to realize that our ancestors will only ever exist on states of vibrational energy at 7, 8, and 9 ether. They will always be of your own ancestry. Anything below that, from 6 down to 1 ether, will not be of your own ancestry. Yeah, so there are forces waiting there to take advantage of an individual. And if you die in a fearful state, yeah, you can be locked. This is what it was expressing. You can be locked in that particular moment, and it calls you to be in that loop. And you may find yourself, or parts or aspects of your being, in these lower states of vibrational energy being utilized by forces who do what? They're going to keep causing you to replay, go back through that death situation. Why? Because you were fearful. Okay, boom. I'm yielding up more of that negative energy that's helping to fuel those who choose to feed off of that. You understand? So this is why eventually it's not something that they can sustain off forever, but clearly it's there and being utilized by them. This is why they talk about in feeding the forces, they alert you to the fact of a program that's required called Ray or Reye Ha-Achet, which is basically a program designed to realign all of that ancestral energy or aspects of a person's self or soul that's been trapped in those lower forces back, to remove it from there and put it back with our ancestors. This is what the real sort of Messiah story or whatever is about for us. Understood, not connected to their biblical stories, but it's about raising those group of golden children who would be taught by Tahuti or the Ba'h B'ah Yaanuwn to be able to perform that task, so that none of our energy, that basically how we're linked obviously from our physical DNA to our etheric ancestry, all of it at the point of death would basically transition to be aligned with our own ancestral forces and not to be used by others. Let me just see where this was so we can read. You were just asking. Yeah. Any other questions while I'm just looking for this particular verse?
No other questions.
Interesting. Can't see that, isn't it? It's a bit different reading from the screen, so I'm looking at the physical book. But that's the explanation. I can't seem to find that verse for some strange reason. But yeah, that's what it's designed to do. So this is what I'm saying. You can be trapped there if you don't make. So the way to avoid that is you must make the connection now. So probably referred to last week's class. Well, I think last week was 2 weeks ago. So we went through the detail of that, because you're being given those things to make it now, so that you know them. Even if you didn't physically know them, then obviously you've made that connection. And that's one of the things, which this is obviously expressing, is that because you're making that connection, once it's established to that world of nothingness, it can't be altered or changed. Yeah, so this is the power of that taking place there. So that's what that trap is. Obviously, that's slightly different, you understand, to an individual who murders somebody, for example, and then certain rules, of the natural environment or nature kick in because of that particular act. Obviously, this is talking about dying in ignorance or dying in fear, in a fearful state, and then not being able to make the connection. There we go. Not being able to make that connection to, as I say, your ancestors, to be guided through that gateway. You understand? Which is, we may do a class on that maybe sometime next year, on the guardians and the gateways in more details, so we could just show you diagrams and explain the northeast corner of Orion's belt and different things of that nature, to go into that in more detail. But this is basically 217 is what you're talking. Yeah. So since evil beings have their own spirit, they're not restricted, not trapped as such, can be in a place, a person, even things such as a statue, a person, body, or be trapped in a place. That is after a person dies, if she or he is not linked to their own etheric ancestors. They can be trapped. Yeah, so that's what that's making reference to. Yeah. Any other questions?
No, there aren't any other questions.
Okay, so I put the link for the previous classes in the chat area. I think it is on the emails or whatever, if people are registered to this call, that get as well. So that's where the YouTube channel is and the previous parts for this. So we're back again in 2 weeks' time to wrap up this particular class. It's been very useful today. I think this is a real serious part to rack. I think a lot of people, I say a lot of people, I say that, but people miss it. They may overlook it, but the real benefit is applying it to oneself, really sort of going through and sort of, oh God, I've got to look through and really sort of test myself. And that's not, let me be clear about this, that is not to dumb down or suppress anybody's emerging etheric spiritual abilities and awareness, but is to say that we have a system that gatekeeps that. You understand? And so before you have to do that research and internal thing of yourself before you really think about introducing it to others. I'm going to finish on this particular quote. In fact, let me just go back. I don't think I've shown it here. So one that's quite interesting, and if you've got the book, you may want to read on it further. But ultimate reality says inspirations and revelations are attributes and results that accompany reasoning, yet they must always be checked out completely and thoroughly to confirm them being hakikat, actual facts. Confirm, not beliefs or conjectures. Fictions, fables, myth, legends, as religions put forth in the Bible, Quran, fiction, stories, even creatures of fiction, must be confirmed by sound right reasoning for authenticity and reasonability. That is to see that they are indeed true, make sense. Truth is truth, Musbatu Sapiens. So one of these things is particularly important as our checkpoint for this is, and obviously, for people who are new, it may be less able to understand the point I'm about to make, but it's not fair to say that in that way. But the amount of work that's been put in from 1963 to now, as you see, we were just having a conversation about the viruses, etc. You see, we were already written years ago, placed in there to prepare you. So what this is expressing to us is that basically we have a plethora of information in Wu-Sabat providing to us in written form, updates, different things or whatever the nature, that we can check those inspirations and revelations against to check whether, okay, is this actual facts? You understand? Or am I tripping? You understand? So you're looking for that. And those who pay attention are aware. They say you're going to get these intuitive thoughts in the same way your eyes opened or whatever, or your mind is opened or your third eye is opened up to inspirations or intuitiveness about how it all hangs together. You understand how we're connected, how reality works, etc. Understood? And you've got a doctrine there to check it against. You've got actual facts, master secrets to check it against, to seek confirmation. Yeah, so this is where you're tying everything back around and in. Previously we had to, people, their first thing, jump on the internet and go to Google and check this or for some external source of verification. I'm not saying not to do that, but I'm saying you got to tie the circle back to your own thinking, because the Maxims can't teach you about things that they wasn't around, that are past 6,000 years. So when you're having that type of discussion, they wasn't there. So no point in relying upon their thing. If it's interesting, if it correlates, as you see now, a lot of things, for example, in Holy Tablets are being realized on, the articles, certain documentaries, etc. The master teacher was talking about ancient aliens and different things of that nature. These are things that he was teaching. Now they're confirming everything. So we don't sound like crazy cultists, if that's what we're supposed to sound like. Actually, you're confirming many of the things that we were dealing with 20 and 30 years ago. Understand? We were already learning about gender and DNA, etc., etc. Things that you don't learn about, let's be honest, you don't learn about them when your pastor is teaching in a church, or when the imam is speaking in the pulpit, etc. You're not learning about those things that dealing with the realities of now and that kind of technology. So you must apply this reasoning, because we are open beings. And it's telling you our nature. We love a mystery. We love mystery. Yeah, we love intrigue, but we also need to be grounded if we're going to get back to who, because our ancestors didn't play with that kind of stuff. They had no belief in their system when they were at the height of who we are, understood, as opposed to, were, let's say are, who we are. So we're getting back to that. And this is why you must master what's been given, because it provides a protection almost against, okay, let me correlate that, you understand, to, what's been given, because I'm understanding it. I'm not just leaving everything to that. You're not just a physical being. You are physical and etheric. You are both. So you must master both and utilize them. You understand? And remember, you're not alone. So if you're confused, you got a challenge or something's thing, you need to put those requests to your ancestors. Help me out here. Understand? As student teachers, there are many mantras that are used to help a person seek the answers within the doctrine. Understand? Sasu Timu Hiru Hakinu is one of our mantras. Let's say it, boom. Okay, boom. Okay, I've opened the page. That's the answer I was looking for. That was the thing. So there are things to help, student teachers, or us, as we're all student teachers, to help us and guide us through. As I say, it's not there to trick you. It's not there to trick you. And I'm not saying there's not tests and difficult things that we have to go through, but your doctrine is not there to trick you. It is there to grow you. So, put your trust in it as you need to, and work in it. And so it's one thing to be, it's how you arc, the vibration of that third eye to what you're targeting or tasking your mind to look at and do. So if you're looking at it to disprove it as a skeptic, then that's what your mind's going to do or try to do. Do you understand? If you're, okay, well, I need confirmation, but I'm a student seeking to understand into an overstanding what's going on, then your mind's going to do that. It's going to guide you accordingly. Do you understand? So we didn't do that with the Mukassu information, you understand, which we should have done, based upon historic behavior and current behavior. We didn't do that. So if you arc your mind, okay, I'm a student, I'm going to be positive about this, and I just want to master what's being taught, then that's what you're going to target yourself to gain back from it. And that whatever the mind is like a field, whatever you plant in it, that is what's going to grow. Understood? So if you want to seek understanding, if you want it to grow you, then when you study, read in that nature. You understand? Not, you don't have to read for belief, but read in that kind of vein. I want to master this. You understand? Hence, you don't learn Wu-Sabat. This is a difference. You don't learn Wu-Sabat. Wu-Sabat is learning you. Yeah, so you're placing yourself in a position to be taught. Am I reading the book when I open the page, or am I placing myself in a position so when I open the pages, Wu-Sabat can teach me? Yeah, when I put on the tape of the master teaching a certain lecture, am I putting myself in position for Wu-Sabat now to teach me? Yeah, it's the other way round. Yeah, this is what it's not my thinking. It's from the old triad. You understand? Great student teachers like Mentu, Hatap. You understand? Yeah, you don't learn Wu-Sabat. Wu-Sabat learns you. On that note, I will close out for today. Appreciate everybody's input, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. Obviously, any questions, email us in the meantime on the email address provided in the links that you get for class. But if not, we'll see you in 2 weeks' time for another class to wrap up this particular subject for the year. Okay, take care. We'll we'll see you soon. Wadu, take care.